A notification popped up reading, Challenge Tower. The challenge for floor 100 was loading, and a few angels appeared along with. Below stood the silhouette of a man, accompanied by a comment, persistent as a leech struggling won't help. I'll warn you first. Sooner or later, I'll clear this floor 100. Juno God, that's me. This is the top-tier game Summoner's Battle, usually shortened to Summoner's Battle. It's a broken game hardly anyone plays because it's insanely hard. Now only veteran players remain. There, he set godlike records and became a legend in the game. Comments from NH1E5T Theern and Good Distro1EBF appeared on screen. Player reached floor 70 of the challenge tower. B1E1CH Theern, hey, Jinwoo big bro, you busy? Are you probably conquering floor 99? Reading this, Jinwoo muttered to himself. I already cleared floor 99. What's going on? Is there a glitch? He told himself, that's right, Jinwoo is the one who makes the crowd bow in respect. But sorry, I'm busy right now. A somewhat regretful smile spread across his face. Just finish this run, then I'll delete the game. In real life, my life's a mess. Things shouldn't have gone this way. 10 years of gaming addiction to the point of dropping out of college, no stable job like others. His parents say nothing outwardly, but they must be heartbroken. So I've decided to ditch this broken game and remake my life. I'm 24, time to act like an adult. So aiming to restart his life, he wanted to give Jinwoo a truly satisfying ending. I'll just finish this run and then delete the game for good. At that moment, Jinwoo prepared to counterattack. The summon board popped up, showing a list of summon beasts. The inventory opened as well, while B1E1CH Theern nearby kept discussing. Looks like Big Bro's really busy. Rachel, he usually ignores the summon board. Let's wait a bit. The summon beast used was the special move, White Whale, and a system message followed. White Whale has been summoned. The comments buzzed nonstop with chatter. The player ranked second is Rachel. But if he clears floor 100 this time, the angels will launch another assault. Below was Rachel's remark. It's been exactly 10 years, hasn't it? Jinwoo God was fully focused on the battle before him. He quickly raised a wall to block those incoming attacks. Jinwoo's face was extremely tense. The comments grew louder and louder. Genos is insane, unbelievable. Great, I can't quit this game because I want to see floor 100 cleared. Suddenly, several attacks bearing purple light streaked past the angel's body, drawing their attention and causing them to turn back. But at that very moment, other attacks slammed in, shredding those angels to pieces. Of course, the one who struck was the protagonist himself. Jinwoo on this side was still using the White Whale summon. A clear confidence showed on his face. Viewers praised nonstop. No wonder he's Juno God, right? But another player warned the group. Did everyone read the announcement board? But a light appearing from behind made Jinwoo turn his head. In front of him now stood a gigantic monster. It attacked almost immediately. Jinwoo's eyes widened in astonishment. However, he nimbly summoned the Azure Dragon. As soon as the Azure Dragon appeared, it used water elemental powers to counter the giant. Meanwhile, people outside were still debating the fight. Will the game structure change? What does that mean? Probably just trolling. Even the admins didn't expect anyone to clear floor 100. In an instant, the space was violently disturbed. Below was a line of text. Who knows? Jinwoo opened his eyes wide as he took in the scale of the battle. B1E1CH Theern, what if the world really changes? A proclamation followed. Reality has become the summoner's world. The next second, a shocking explosion occurred. Jinwoo's screen displayed. Challenge Tower successfully conquered floor 100. Unable to contain his excitement, Jinwoo shouted, cleared it. Passers-by eyed him judgmentally. Finally did it. What's he muttering about? Is he off his rock? But only Jinwoo truly understood. Finally, Mr. Jinwoo conquered all 100 floors. Farewell game. He felt like bragging. Nice, gotta show the other gamers before I delete the game. Unexpectedly, the people around him wore expressions of astonishment. Then Jinwoo was drawn by a blinding light. In the sky hung a giant announcement. Challenge Tower successfully conquered floor 100. Everyone present couldn't help but exclaim, what is that? The next line read, beta test concluded. Jinwoo began to feel unsettled. Why is the in-game screen showing up out there? Following the announcement, a flurry of red papers appeared. A few people quickly grabbed them. What's this? An announcement popped up. Please tear up the summoning scroll. They were intrigued. Maybe it's some kind of event. Let's tear it and see. And they immediately tore off the red paper. Jinwoo beside them couldn't stop it in time. No, if they tear it. The red paper was torn in two, and it immediately exploded, startling the people nearby. Another announcement appeared. A new world has been opened. Jinwoo was horrified, his face going pale at the sight. A swarm of monsters had suddenly descended from nowhere. While he was still processing it, a car nearly struck him. Only when a flash of light came from behind did Jinwoo realize something was wrong. A loud crash rang out, followed by the panic of the onlookers. They surrounded Jinwoo and shouted, "Someone, been hit by a car, somebody help him." He lay alone on the ground, his head bleeding. 19, call 119 now. In his mind, Jinwoo thought, damn it, this bloody game. The phone on the ground was already cracked to pieces. Time passed without him knowing. In the hospital room, the news played. Next up, amid the official start of the International Players League, South Korea once again leaves a disappointing result, ranking near the bottom of the stand. Regarding this, the association insists more high-tier summons must be mobilized, but some experts argue the national budget can't cover those fees. Jinwoo's hand twitched slightly. This made his mother startle. She almost dropped the knife. "Honey, honey, call a doctor, quick." Their voices were full of relief. Jinwoo's awake. Outside, the sky was oddly clear. Inside the hospital room, Jinwoo's parents were recounting what had happened. His eyes opened wide in shock. Just waking up, he was hit with earth-shattering news. First, 3 years had passed since his accident. Second, the game scene that appeared before he lost consciousness had become reality. The door swung open and a pebble golem stepped in. "This is your father's summon, Pebble Golem." Only now could Jinwoo confirm it wasn't a dream. His father continued, "It helps me load packages at the courier warehouse. It's actually useful." He stared at it in disbelief. "That E-rank summon is yours, Dad." And the third shock, the TV was airing a report about Rachel. Given the situation, players worldwide insist that to conquer the Challenge Tower, you must find Korea's Jinwoo God. That statement sparked a huge wave of speculation among the public. Rachel, the world's #1 player, a member of NH1EA5T Thiern and Gu D*1EBF, has been waiting for him. If he appears, the world will quake again. The truth was the whole world was hunting Jinwoo God himself. He looked at the woman on the TV and thought, and that name can't be wrong. I'm certain she's a member of NH1EA5T Thiern and Gu D*1EBF. The report ended. Only then did Jinwoo think to himself, so the game's summoners battle actually became real. The system popped up. "Would you like to start the tutorial?" Jinwoo's mother suddenly spoke. "Jinwoo, I know this is a shock. You don't have to start the tutorial now, just rest." But he hurriedly refused. "No, Mom." He smiled and added, "I need to adapt fast. I feel stronger now, don't worry." In his head, he was already calculating. Even with nothing in hand and the world changed, how hard could it be? For this game, he was confident he'd reach the world's top. Everything that followed was surprisingly simple. After discharge and returning home, Jinwoo sat at his computer. He began researching this world, where the game BOS had become reality. He searched for information from duels and dungeon expeditions to the Challenge Tower, all game systems now manifested in real life. After studying, he concluded, 3 years on, people seem to have adapted to living with summons. Jinwoo rose from his chair, muttering, "Even so, they'll never understand these creatures like I do." He eagerly operated the system panel. "Well then, it's time. Shall we start?" Notifications kept popping up. "Do you want to open your inventory?" Tutorial phase is starting. Very quickly, Jinwoo was transported to another location. As he expected, the area was completely deserted. "I can't believe I had to come to some vacant spot just because I couldn't predict which summon would appear." A stream of tutorial messages appeared. Tutorial reward. Low-tier summon scroll ×2 warning. Recommended for outdoor use. Jinwoo looked at the red paper in his hand and sighed. Now everything felt more real than ever. He muttered to himself, "Please, let me summon something decent for once." Because even I beat Jinwoo, dubbed NH1EA5T Thiern. If I have to start with garbage summons, I'm done for. But BOS is a notoriously cursed gacha game with atrocious drop rates. Summary: low-tier summon scroll, D, 1% E, 5% F, 94% ranks run from S to F with extremely low success rates. Only by beating the 1% odds might you get a D rank. He didn't rush to tear it. Instead, he started praying. "God, please, please, I beg you, give me something usable." Jinwoo's face was dead serious. "I don't need D rank. I'd be satisfied with a usable E rank. Just give me a useful E rank." Finally, he tore the paper. System using low-tier summon scroll. Jinwoo read the line cautiously, wondering non-stop, will it succeed? And how exactly do summon things appear anyway? At that moment, the paper suddenly detonated. Jinwoo jumped in surprise. What the hell is this? System messages began to appear. Player, Jinwoo. You have received a summon, Wind Spirit, rank X. Jinwoo's eyes widened in disbelief as he muttered, "X rank? Does such a rank even exist?" On the other side, the spirit girl lazily rubbed her eye and cried out in shock, what the hell is going on? Then she gaped at the person before her. Oh my god, I really got summoned. No way, how long has it been? Jinwoo kept wondering. Wait, why can a summon talk? But he soon gasped. A name slipped from his mouth. Are you Ramba? Ramba hurried to correct him. No, I'm a wind spirit. Very quickly she realized. Wait, what? The only one who ever called me that name. Ramba's face lit up with excitement. Don't tell me, are you Jinwoo? She then rushed at Jinwoo in ecstatic joy. Jinwoo, do you know how much I've missed you? Jinwoo answered gently. Of course. In his head he kept calculating. I remember now. E-rank summon, wind spirit. If you exploit hidden mechanics and equip the right relics, she becomes a god-tier unit with exponentially increasing attack speed. They'd been bonded since his rookie days, and he'd even nicknamed her Ramba. Jinwoo glanced at Ramba with a question in his mind. But wasn't she deleted from the game in a patch the first year? He looked at the info panel and thought, why was she removed? Was her use restricted because they found an exploit that broke balance? Do you know how furious I was when they deleted the summon I spent a year raising? What the hell is going on? The info panel read, Summon, Wind Spirit Level 1, Race, Fey Rank S, Quarantine due to detected unbalancing factors under specific conditions. Skill, Wind Pressure, increases attack speed of a single summoned target by 3% after each staff swing. Jinwoo's eyes widened. He muttered, Status, Quarantine. At that, Ramba tearfully explained, Suddenly I was pulled to a very strange place. I was locked up and couldn't escape. Let's never part again, Jinwoo, okay? Jinwoo not only showed no pity, but shoved her away roughly. Wait a second, Ramba. He raised a question. Locked up, who quarantined you? Only then did Ramba realize her slip. What was that? I mean. She hurriedly changed the subject. Ow, suddenly my head hurts like crazy. Ramba clutched her head as if in pain and cried. It hurts. It hurts so bad I can't even remember anything. Someone must have slapped a restriction on you, Jinwoo thought. Seeing that, he asked back. Really? Then just tell me what you do remember. She could only answer seriously. Sorry, I can't reveal much. We've been quarantined. No matter how players tried to summon us, we couldn't leave. This made Jinwoo more puzzled. Besides you, were other summons quarantined too? Ramba replied earnestly. They weren't locked in the same room, so I don't know who they are, but there are definitely many others. A room, so maybe. About 10 individuals. Jinwoo guessed. 10 individuals. If it was really 10, he couldn't believe his eyes. Holy crap, no way. The truth was 10 summons had disappeared after being flagged as bugs while he was using them. He began to calculate if all those summons were classified as X-rank and quarantined. Ramba interjected, I don't know the details either. But anyway, Jinwoo, it seems we'll have a chance whenever you tear a summon scroll. It's been ages since I felt the call from a low-tier scroll. Looking at the red paper on the ground, Jinwoo thought, isn't that interesting? And they only react to the scrolls I tear. His expression turned serious. No doubt about it, I'm the only one who can summon X-grade items. Then he wondered, could this be a privilege reserved for whoever conquered floor 100 of the challenge tower? Jinwoo quickly tore the remaining paper. System, using low-tier summon scroll. As he did, he thought, have all low-tier scrolls I tear been preset to drop X item. A summon appeared quickly. Player, Jinwoo received a summon, Leaf Fur Gorilla, rank F. Jinwoo couldn't help feeling disappointed. Guess not. Meanwhile, Ramba was visibly delighted. A gorilla, he thought, rank F, so X drops are still totally random. This damn RNG gacha game. After careful calculation, he concluded, as expected, I'll need to tear as many summon scrolls as possible to raise my chances of getting X items. If I can collect all X items, I could become far stronger than when I dominated as NH letter 1 EA5T Theer. Having settled on a goal, he said, Ramba. She quickly turned and replied, Jinwoo. He offered a remark. From now on, drop the name Jinwoo. Call me Jinwoo. Ramba asked confusedly. Why? He didn't explain, only thinking to himself. Because thanks to the 5 emperors, the name Jinu is famous worldwide. The risks were piling up. No matter how superior my knowledge and experience are, I can't know how these 3 lost years will disadvantage me. Jinwoo also understood. If word got out that he possessed X items, he'd only become a target of envy and hatred. A sound echoed through the forest, sending birds flying. Jinwoo was surprised too. What the? Why all of a sudden? Both Ramba and the gorilla were equally stunned. A notification appeared before Jinwoo, advancing to the next stage. A basic beginner dungeon has been generated. Staring at the suddenly appearing gate, Jinwoo muttered in surprise. What, right now? His hand clenched in hesitation. Oh damn, do I really have to go in? It's true he had cleared countless dungeons before, but reality was far different from the game. He ground his teeth. No, calm down. Honestly, I'm terrified, but I won't have to fight directly, and besides, it's just a tutorial dungeon. Jinwoo turned to face the gate. At that moment, a system message appeared. Player Jinwoo, please step inside. The three of them went in. I need to adapt to this changed reality. Jinwoo's face betrayed his astonishment. The space around him shifted in an instant. I just entered a dungeon, but why does it feel kinda creepy in here? A system message appeared. Player, Jinwoo, you have entered the beginner dungeon. Jinwoo read cautiously and calculated silently. So it's begun. The rules: to participate in battles in the dungeon, you must form a summon team. A second notice appeared. Maximum summons per team, 5. Below was a choice. Do you want to assign Wind Spirit rank S and Leaf Fur Gorilla rank F to Team 1? Jinwoo calculated inwardly. Normally, to maximize dungeon success, you'd fill all 5 summon slots. Bringing only 2 summons seems risky, but with the right strategy, it's doable. He remembered from his gaming days. I've run this thousands, tens of thousands of times. The entire clearing process is etched in my head. The listed choices were Wind Spirit rank S and Leaf Fur Gorilla rank F. They were summoned automatic. He frowned, assessing inwardly. Let's see, the tutorial dungeon's monster will surely be. But Jinwoo's eyes widened when a growl came from behind. System: a hungry gray wolf is lurking nearby. Objective: defeat the wolf and escape the cave. His expression turned serious. Gray wolf rank F. Light streams of gold began to emit from his feet. A protective shield formed around the player. Jinwoo continued to calculate cautiously. So the player protection against bosses is applied perfectly. But because this is reality, suddenly a red message appeared. Warning: you will die if hit by a summon attack while no protective shield is active. If I fail, it won't just end with a game over message. The gray wolf bore a menacing look and slowly advanced. At that, Jinwoo ordered, Gorilla, move forward. However, its movement left him deeply disappointed. Jinwoo went pale as he remarked, it's too slow. But it didn't dampen his mood for long. I expected this. Ramba, Roger. She took the order and rushed forward. The skill used was wind pressure, swinging the staff to increase the summon's attack speed. The gorilla was quickly buffed with power. It was momentarily dazed by this. However, it quickly regained its spirit and charged forward powerfully. To one side, Jinwoo remarked with satisfaction, great, that's Ramba for you. The gray wolf also lunged aggressively. Jinwoo thought to himself, was that thing this big in the game? It looks much more terrifying. He felt confident in his lineup. There's no way the hairy gorilla actually loses, right? Jinwoo's train of thought followed the data he knew. That would be completely impossible. But he also cautiously considered other possibilities. Even if there's only a 1 in a million chance, reality could produce an unforeseen turn of events. A bloody scene unfolded before him. The gray wolf bit into the gorilla. It lost its balance and fell. Jinwoo immediately shouted, Ramba. She replied loudly, gosh, I swung as hard as I could. Wind swirled around and supported the gorilla's attack. The tide turned with just one punch. The gray wolf went rolling across the ground. Jinwoo, seeing the opening, immediately ordered, now's the time. Ramba quickly delivered the next strike. The gorilla grew even more powerful under her support. It punched the gray wolf directly and followed up with a barrage of punches. The surrounding space became nothing but a cloud of white dust. Jinwoo and Ajin watched with wide eyes as they witnessed this scene. They looked at the gray wolf lying dead and motionless on the ground. Only then did the gorilla let out a roar. While Ramba cheered excitedly, we won. Several system notifications appeared simultaneously. Instance cleared. Reward: low-grade power rune times 2. Jinwoo finally felt somewhat relieved. I'm alive. As evening approached, an enthusiastic voice rang out. Thank you. See you next time. Some bills were tucked into an envelope. It was Ajin's excitement. This is great. I just made 200,000 won today, didn't I? She was Ajin, Jinwoo's younger sister. Speaking of 3 years ago when the world changed, she also got a new profession. A rune farming player, mainly running low-level dungeons. Her job was to make a profit by selling runes to potential players. After my brother had his accident and our family's financial situation became difficult, I decided to become a player, almost like a miracle. While in a dungeon, a mid-level summoner's skill book dropped, and from that book, with only a 1% drop rate, she obtained a C-rank summon. She glanced toward the bag on her shoulder. I was really lucky. Thanks to this C-rank night elf, I've been able to earn money steadily by farming runes. The phone rang. The caller was her brother, Jinwoo. Is my big brother calling? Ajin quickly picked up. Hello, Oppa. Are you discharged from the hospital? On the other end of the line, Jinwoo's urgent voice rang out. Yeah, I'm out. But Ajin, Dad told me you're out selling runes. This remark made her a bit indignant. Selling runes? Please call me a rune farming player. How could you use such a crude term? That shout made Jinwoo quickly try to soothe her. You're scaring me. Okay, fine, rune farmer. Anyway, do you know where the integrated center is? Dad said you'd know. Hearing this, Ajin couldn't help but be surprised. The integrated center, that. She explained softly, of course it's in the player district. The truth is, when challenge towers appeared all over the world, people needed a space to manage everything related to their summons. That's how player districts were born. Not only are there diverse dungeons, but also the integrated center, the enhancement center, and many other places. Everything can now be handled right around the tower. The two quickly met up at a cafe. Ajin frowned, starting the conversation. You know that Jamsil Tower and Hindi Tower have turned into challenge towers, right? She explained at a steady pace. The situation varies greatly depending on the country. But in Korea, challenge towers only appeared in those two locations. Therefore, the player districts you're looking for are only there. Hearing this, Jinwoo replied, I see. However, his face remained pensive. Still, if these facilities are meant to serve the conquest of challenge towers, it makes sense that they were built nearby. Ajin suddenly changed the subject. By the way, what rank summon did you get earlier, Oppa? E rank. Jinwoo replied gently, 1 E rank and 1 F rank. Hearing this, she couldn't help but feel surprised. Really, E rank only has about a 5% appearance rate. However, he was somewhat evasive. Is that so? I must have been lucky. Sorry, little sister. It was just a lie. He continued, anyway, I'm going to need your help. I want to adapt to this system as quickly as possible. He didn't forget to make a promise. I'll give you some pocket money later. Ajin teased back. Even though I make way more money than you, Oppa. Jinwoo only replied softly, little sister, you never know what the future holds. Who knows, I might become the greatest player in the world. But she didn't believe it at all. Keep dreaming. Ajin added with a boastful tone. And anyway, being like the next Jinwoo god or Genos is easy for them. They're all geniuses. People like us can't become like. Jinwoo only replied quietly, is that so? Then he stood up and made a request. I understand, so please lead the way. On Jinwoo's face was an excited smile. He wanted to see for himself what a player district looked like. The place the two siblings headed toward was an incredibly modern building. On the way, Ajin couldn't help but ask curiously, Oppa, you said you just pulled a summon. What did you get? Jinwoo replied steadily, Wind Spirit. Hearing this, Ajin became even more curious. Wind Spirit. I've never heard of that. Let me see. However, Jinwoo flatly refused. No way. Why would you want to see it? This blunt attitude annoyed Ajin. Stingy. Why not? We're family. It doesn't hurt to show me. Hearing that, Jinwoo made a counter-proposal. Then let me see yours first. Ajin was surprised. Mine. She proudly brought out her summon. Fine, just don't be too shocked. Her confident expression made Jinwoo somewhat curious. Just what does she have that makes her so confident? What appeared was a C-rank night elf. Jinwoo almost turned to stone instantly. This lackluster reaction made Ajin so angry she had to ask, what's with the lukewarm reaction? You might not know, but anything C-rank or higher is considered high class. Hearing the explanation, Jinwoo only replied indifferently, oh, is that so? He continued to observe the night elf, thinking to himself, please, high class my foot. This is the kind of C rank I used to see everywhere in dungeons, usually just used as EXP fodder at the general store. Jinwoo spoke up, Miss Elf. He tried to start a conversation. Night Elf, can you speak Korean? Hello. This action puzzled both Ajin and the Night Elf. Ajin asked with a judging expression, what are you doing? Hello. Ah, you can't hear me. Jinwoo explained calmly. What does it look like I'm doing? I'm just saying hello and intending to ask the summon my sister is so proud of to take good care of. The more she heard, the more speechless Ajin became. Hello, my foot. Summons can't speak. This new information took Jinwoo by surprise. They can't talk. In his mind, he remembered his first encounter with Ramba. Jinwoo couldn't help but wonder, but when I first met Ramba, she spoke. He asked back skeptically, wait, summons are normally unable to speak. Ajin used an even more judgmental look as she replied, who told you summons can talk? But Jinwoo was busy remembering Ramba's playfulness. They can't. Well, that's true. But since Ramba spoke, I thought all humanoid summons could talk now as part of the reality patch. I knew Ramba was a special case, but I even remember how she spoke. I did well, right, Jinwoo? At this point, Ajin requested again. Now let me see Oppa's summon. To her surprise, Jinwoo refused once more. Later. This attitude made Ajin raise her voice in surprise. What? Why? I showed you mine. Jinwoo repeated. I said I'll show you later. For now, it's best not to draw attention. He thought to himself, I'll have to be careful when talking to Ramba for a while. He followed up with an urge, hurry up and lead me. Though sulking, Ajin complied. Such a fraud, wait for me. Jinwoo's face could not hide his amazement as he witnessed the scene before him. Where they stopped was packed with people and summons. So this really is Jamsil. Ajin walked ahead, explaining softly, that's right. When the challenge tower appeared, the company cleared this whole area out. The more he heard, the more curious Jinwoo became. Why? Ajin frowned and replied as if it were obvious. Why? Who would want to play next to that gloomy tower? This place is no longer a land of dreams and hopes. Jinwoo widened his eyes and asked back, wouldn't that be more exciting? A land of adventure and thrills. Then he was questioned by Ajin. What kind of thrill is a deadly one? Dungeons popped up right in the middle of Jamsil. No one comes here to play anymore. Only then did Jinwoo reluctantly agree. I suppose that's true. His face also turned serious. Dungeons really are terrifying. But to see places from the game appear in real life, he looked toward the road ahead, thinking to himself, honestly, it's incredibly exciting. The two went deeper inside. Is that the market? Yes. Here, people could freely trade everything from summoning scrolls to runes. Jinwoo looked around, an excited smile on his face. It really is nostalgic. I used to open summoning scrolls and runes with that rich guy Beekchan all the time. Meanwhile, Ajin explained as she walked, see those flyers over there. Almost everything you need is on them, so if you need guidance, just go to the information desk. She didn't forget to add, also, Opa, you're still a newbie, so why don't you try stopping by the academy run by the player headquarters over there? Every word showed her concern. You need to learn the basics step by step. But Jinwoo refused. No, it's fine, little sister. There's nothing I need to learn or am curious about. In his heart, he had already calculated his own path, since I'm going to be camping out here to grind levels anyway. Ajin was still worried and asked, are you sure you'll be okay? Jinwoo continued to reassure her. You go on home, thanks for the tour. Seeing this, Ajin asked, you're planning to stay here? Stepping forward a few paces, he replied, I'm going to look around by myself for a while. Hearing this, Ajin nodded as if she understood. I see. However, she was still very worried. Opa has been acting so strange lately, as if he's possessed by something. He only just woke up, will he really be okay? He's probably trying very hard to figure everything out, so maybe I should just watch from the sidelines. She called out after him, don't push yourself too hard. If you need help, call me. Jinwoo only gave a brief reply before disappearing from Ajin's sight. Got it. Only now did he look around and raise his guard. No one will be coming around here, right? Once he was sure, Jinwoo began the summon. Ramba. She appeared with an excited face. Seeing this, Jinwoo quickly reached out and covered Ramba's mouth. This sudden action left her puzzled, and she wondered, what was that for? Jinwoo's face was deadly serious as he declared, Ramba, from now on, you are not allowed to speak when we are outside, got it? His words confused Ramba and she asked, why? He carefully explained, because we can't let others notice you. From now on, you only speak inside dungeons, understand? Not if you've got it. Fine. After that, he sat down and began to calculate. I should organize my thoughts for a bit, shouldn't I? I'm going to need some initial capital to start grinding dungeons and every. Jinwoo's account balance was now clearly displayed on his phone. Looking at that pathetic number, he could only let out a helpless sigh. That's life for you. In his heart, Jinwoo kept wondering, can it get any more pathetic? Even though I had an accident, I didn't expect to have only this much left in my bank account. Going back to working part-time like before would be a total waste of time. He felt increasingly angry. Damn it. Jinwoo's train of thought continued. Someone would probably ask why I don't just ask my parents, but that is absolute nonsense. Because they're still working 3 jobs at once, just to keep this house standing. Thinking about this, he asked himself again, and yet, am I supposed to hold out my hand and ask them for money? If I did that, I wouldn't be human anymore. I'd be no better than a beast. Jinwoo's face was now a mix of sadness and determination. Regardless of having to start over from scratch, I can still do this. He continued to think. The reason Jinwoo God was unrivaled was that I was a free-to-play rank. Looking at the screen in front of him, Jinwoo started calculating. Classic trash game. The pay-to-win element is incredibly heavy. Didn't Chin once say he threw 300 million won into this? Yet I still held the top rank without spending a single cent. His eyes showed clear resolve. Just because this is now reality, does that mean I can't do it? Just you wait and see. I will definitely make a comeback. Unexpectedly, a notification suddenly appeared. Received 500,000 won. Jinwoo's voice rose in genuine surprise. What the hell? Where did this money suddenly come from? Don't tell me this is some kind of new player benefit. Accompanying the transfer notification were 2 messages from Jinwoo's mother. Son, I heard from Ajin that you were already planning to work hard as soon as you woke up. I know your personality. You probably won't open your mouth to ask for pocket money. So use this for now. Reading this, his nose involuntarily began to sting with tears. He remembered the time he was in a coma. She was both worried and took such good care of him. Mom probably doesn't have any money and has just been suffering. And yet, every one of her sincere wishes had always touched him deeply. Son, your mother, I'm right here, so please, open your eyes, please get healthy again. He quickly wiped away a tear that was about to fall and muttered, Mom, thank you. His hand clenched into a fist, showing clear determination. Please wait for me, Mom. I will definitely succeed. Jinwoo's face now wore a resolute expression. he would make sure his whole family lived comfortably. He looked at the information screen and began to calculate. Others have left me far behind over the last 3 years. To catch up, every minute and second is precious. The first step to becoming the strongest is to act the part. To gather the materials needed for growth, I have to conquer dungeons. Therefore, he first needed to form a team. Jinwoo started by buying more summoning scrolls. Player Jinwoo has purchased 3 low-rank summoning scrolls. The first one, player Jinwoo has obtained the F-rank summon, Slime. The second one, player Jinwoo has obtained the F-rank summon, Horned Butterfly. And finally, player Jinwoo has obtained the E-rank summon, Poison Lizard. Observing the 3 creatures that had just appeared, he couldn't help but wonder, I got an E-rank. I'm actually pretty lucky, aren't I? If I count Ramba as an X-rank, it means in just 5 pulls, I hit that 5% probability twice. Jinwoo continued his careful calculations. Furthermore, the Poison Lizard's efficiency is quite decent. His gaze turned toward the slime. I'll just use this guy for a while and then toss him. Looking over everything once more, Jinwoo gave his assessment. All right, for now, this lineup is fine. Pull the summons, equip runes according to the combat situation, and then level them up. In his heart he thought, in other words, it's about grinding runes, hunting monsters, and tearing summoning scrolls. That's all there is to the BOS growth system. I can handle that level of grinding any. He had even begun to calculate a more distant future, and if I collect all 10 of those X-rank summons, a full S-rank team, or the 100th floor of the Tower of Trials, I'll be able to sweep through anything easily. So, first I need to find the remaining X-ranks. Jinwoo took a slow step forward. All right. A confident smile appeared on his face. Now there's only one step left. Pulling out his phone, Jinwoo muttered, first, I have to find a dungeon. He thought to himself, back when it was a mobile game, I just had to tap an icon. It seems it won't be as easy as it was in the game. Then he wondered, so, what's it like in reality? However, just a second later, his eyes widened. Jinwoo cried out at the top of his lungs. What the hell is this? His noise made those around him feel irritated. Someone even muttered, he thinks the player zone belongs to his family or something. Jinwoo began reading the information displayed on his phone screen, even with summons. That important information was presented alongside an image of a cat with horns. Today we will learn about entering dungeons. But first, did you know that having a summon doesn't automatically mean you're allowed to enter a dungeon? I can't just go in. It then mentioned that dungeon gates appear randomly regardless of location, and the difficulty can be determined by the energy they emit. But the regulations had changed, so no matter how easy a dungeon might be, only those who have officially registered as players are permitted to enter. Jinwoo flopped down onto a bench in frustration, his face showing his dissatisfaction as he muttered, fate is absolute crap. Why did I have to wake up right after the law changed? Ramba's hand lightly touched his shoulder. Her face was full of encouragement. Jinwoo, cheer up. Her attitude made Jinwoo feel somewhat relieved. He patted her head and replied, thanks, Ramba. Suddenly, the phone in Jinwoo's pocket rang. The person on the other end was none other than Ajin. Hello? She didn't beat around the bush and asked directly, what time are you coming home? Mom is asking what you want for dinner tonight. On this end, Jinwoo quickly replied, I can just find something to eat myself. More importantly, do you know about this? Ajin asked back blankly. Know about what? He then answered briefly, the fact that you have to register as a player before you can enter dungeons. This information made her jump up. Oh, that's right. Jinwoo asked half joking, half serious. You weren't hiding it from me on purpose, were you? She tried desperately to explain herself. How could I? I really just forgot. Then she explained seriously. Anyway, that regulation is very new. Because so many people died in dungeons, the government had to step in. Hearing this, Jinwoo couldn't help but be surprised. That many people died. Ajin continued with a detailed explanation. It's no exaggeration to call it a disaster. It was so chaotic that they actually have staff blocking the entrances now. You absolutely cannot just wander into dungeons on your own. In his heart, Jinwoo simply noted how troublesome. Next, he had to calculate his next move. Upon looking into it, he found there were tests, duels, and registration. What a pain is it to control the number of players. If everyone became a player blinded by greed, it would eventually create a rift in the social system. Ajin, on the other end, mentioned another topic. Oh, that's right, Oppa, there's also a ranking system. Jinwoo asked back, puzzled, rank. She explained thoroughly. That system ranks the top 100 players domestically and internationally every year. Our country hasn't even made it onto the global leaderboard. It's truly pathetic. And then she mentioned another name. If the legendary Jinwoo god appeared, our country's status would skyrocket. Jinwoo, having his sensitive spot touched, quickly hung up. Right, well, thanks for letting me know anyway. I'm hanging up. He then stared silently at his phone for a long time, finally coming to a decision. Since I've finished my preparations for now, I'll just call it a day. The pot of food on the stove was boiling away. Jinwoo's father and mother spent a quiet moment together. Suddenly, a sound made his father look up. He saw that Jinwoo was already prepared to leave the house and couldn't help but feel worried. "You're up already. It's only 6 in the morning." Jinwoo replied politely, "Yes, I have to head out early." His mother interjected, "Jinwoo, are you leaving already? At least eat some rice balls before you go." But Jinwoo politely declined, "No, it's okay." While tying his shoelaces, he suddenly paused, then spoke softly, "Mom, Dad." A bright smile appeared on Jinwoo's face. "I'm sorry for only showing you my worst sides for so long, and thank you, both of you." After saying those words, he left the house, leaving the two parents staring in shock. "I'm off." At that moment, Jinwoo's father scratched his head and muttered, "That boy, he really knows how to make someone embarrassed." But his mother was worried about something else. "Will our Jinwoo be okay?" Seeing her expression, his father comforted her gently. "Don't worry, the government has safety training these days. Let's eat breakfast and head out ourselves." Jinwoo's mother looked toward the door and muttered, "Please, just stay safe." This was an era where all of humanity could become players. Furthermore, among all nations, South Korea had early on drawn attention due to an unusually high death rate in dungeons. The cause of this had a very simple answer. It was a kind of protagonist syndrome fueled by greed. Roughly speaking, players were under the delusion that they were the main character of a fantasy world. Because of this delusion, they recklessly charged into dungeons and died. It had even become such a serious problem that foreign press speculated it was why so many talented gamers had disappeared during this period. They analyzed that since South Korea was once a gaming powerhouse, it still sat in the bottom 10 of every leaderboard. Hearing this, he couldn't help but feel bewildered. "I didn't expect so many deaths just because of a delusion." In his heart, he continued to think more deeply. "It's a bit funny considering I was addicted to this game for 10 years myself, but honestly, it sounds a bit pathetic. But don't they feel afraid?" It was only when the staff member at the front announced, "Next person, please," that Jinwoo stepped forward. He handed over his information sheet and said, "Here is my registration form." The clerk quickly replied, "All right, the registration is all finished." At this point, Jinwoo asked, "Excuse me, how many people will be granted player status?" The answer made him look visibly worried. "Only 50 people who pass the final exam will receive the player title." Jinwoo glanced behind him as he thought. At that moment, there must have been over 1,000 people lined up behind. This won't be easy. But in the end, he decided, whatever. Jinwoo thought to himself, if I can't even overcome a trivial thing like this, how can I be called one heaven? At a cafe for candidates waiting for results, several files were placed on a table, along with a disgruntled remark. "I didn't expect they'd only choose 50 out of all these people." Park Chang-seok, an examiner from headquarters, looked at the papers in front of him and noted, "If we want to recruit decent talent, we should be choosing more. Honestly, those old fogies sitting in their air-conditioned rooms are making everything stagnant." To his surprise, before he could finish his thought, he was interrupted by an attack. What was that? The person who walked in spoke mockingly. "Hey there, Park Chang-seok." Kim Kang-ho looked at the scene and added a defiant word. "You look pretty relaxed for someone who just finished off my kids." Park Chang-seok's face immediately contorted with rage. "You crazy bastard." He also quickly summoned his own beast. A party was quickly formed. The people nearby witnessing this couldn't help but exclaim, "That's the Martial League headquarters. Of all the places they could have gone, they had to come right here." Jinwoo was also drawn to the commotion. He looked at the tension between the two of them. "What's going on?" Jinwoo's face showed his lack of amusement at the situation. What kind of crazy situation is this? The attention of everyone around was fully focused on the tense scene before them. What suddenly happened? Some of them were even trembling with fear. "What should we do? We aren't going to die." Right. Just then, a member of the league spoke up. "It's okay. That's Park Chang-seok. They call him the Destroyer Yaksha of the Lake." Jinwoo also turned his eyes toward them. He looked at Kim Kang-ho, a thought and a guess flashing through his mind. "Don't tell me they're now using summoned beasts for evil deeds." Park Chang-seok shouted a signal, his voice carrying the urgency of the situation. "Everyone call out your summons and put up protection shields." Jinwoo also quickly followed suit and summoned Ramba. She was still dazed, not understanding what was happening. As soon as the first word left her mouth, Jinwoo immediately covered Ramba's mouth. He whispered a reminder, "Sorry, but you promised not to speak outside." On the other side, Kim Kang-ho continued to mock him. "So you're some kind of student of justice, huh?" He wasted no time, immediately ordering his red demon to charge and attack. "Let's see how long you can hold out." Jinwoo hid in a spot, carefully observing the situation. "If I interfere for no reason, it'll just be a headache." He made a decision. "For now, let's just see how they fight." The space was quickly and heavily devastated. The fire butterfly incessantly fired spheres of flame, landing on the ground and creating horrific explosions. However, Kim Kang-ho's red demon remained completely unscathed. This only made him more smug. Is that all you've got? On the opposite side, Park Chang-seok was starting to look annoyed. Meanwhile, Jinwoo muttered an observation. "This is," he gasped as if he couldn't believe his eyes. "They're absolutely terrible." Even Ramba on his shoulder had the same expression of shock. "Is that even considered a fight?" Jinwoo quickly spoke up as Ramba grabbed his hair. "That actually hurts, Ramba." The people around began to whisper among themselves. "It looks like Park Chang-seok is being pushed back. What if he loses?" Their words radiated fear. "We can't have that. Those guys definitely won't hesitate to kill civilians too." Hearing this, Jinwoo couldn't help but wonder, what should I do? He looked at the situation and began to analyze it. If I step in to help and get dragged into this, while the red demon was gradually gaining the upper hand, then I'll die here before I even get to live a decent life. No sooner said than done. Jinwoo approached and spoke to Park Chang-seok. "Excuse me." He tried to stop him. "It's dangerous, please step back." But Jinwoo flatly refused. "No, the skill timing for the fire turtle is off." Then he pointed to the back, adding a word of instruction. "Look at the buffers behind that red orb." Jinwoo forced Park Chang-seok to look at the demon in the back. They're about to buff fire resistance. With that timing, a fire attribute strike won't stand a chance. Hearing this, Park Chang-seok quickly thought to himself, every time the buffers in the back used a skill, the orc's body turned red. Is that fire resistance? He quickly thought of a countermeasure. The red demon on this side is about to attack. But Park Chang-seok was one step ahead. Now, fire turtle. An incredibly powerful pillar of fire was fired, aimed straight at the red demon. It let out a cry of pain as it failed to defend itself in time. Witnessing this, Park Chang-seok couldn't help but cry out in excitement. Great, it actually worked. Meanwhile, Kim Kang-ho on the opposite side roared in anger. "Damn it, how did you know?" The moment the faint clouds of smoke began to dissipate was when Park Chang-seok's wood attribute summons launched their attack. Kim Kang-ho could only watch helplessly as his support demon was attacked. This is insane. Park Chang-seok's group of summons seized the opportunity and struck all at once. The red demon took a full rain of fire and was burned to a crisp. Kim Kang-ho watched them disappear, only able to mutter in terror, "How can this be?" He was terrified as he saw Park Chang-seok slowly advancing toward him. Wait a minute. Only sheer dread remained on Kim Kang-ho's face. "I'll turn myself in. I surrender. I was wrong." However, Park Chang-seok's wood-type summon had already moved. It bound him tightly, ignoring his pleas. "Please spare me. I'll never be a gangster again." Park Chang-seok spoke in a cold, low voice. "Shut up. You know members of the union are executed immediately." Kim Kang-ho looked helplessly at the branches coiling around his body. "No." Park Chang-seok coldly declared. "Right." The command was given, and the summon instantly tightened its grip. Kim Kang-ho's body popped like a bursting bubble. Only then did the bystanders feel a sense of relief. Is it finally over? They began cheering for Park Chang-seok. "We won. Park Chang-seok won. You're amazing." Park Chang-seok even seemed excited seeing Kim Kang-ho's death. That guy got what he deserved. HQ is the best. This new standard of values made Jinwoo wonder, even if he was a criminal, to kill a person like this. When someone is killed right in front of your eyes, this world truly isn't the place I once knew. His gaze grew sharper. If I don't have real determination, it will be hard to survive. Meanwhile, Park Chang-seok was slowly approaching him. "Excuse me, young man," he spoke politely. "Thank you very much for what you did earlier. I am Park Chang-seok, an examiner from player headquarters." Sincere gratitude followed. "Thanks to you, I was able to catch that terrorist." Jinwoo shook his hand and replied, "It was nothing." Park Chang-seok shifted the topic. "I'd like to send you a reward. May I ask which guild you belong to?" At this point, he explained honestly. "Actually, I haven't registered with headquarters yet. Is that all right?" Hearing this, Park Chang-seok was stunned. "What? You identified that summon in an instant among tens of thousands of types, yet you aren't officially registered." Park Chang-seok continued. "Do you have an ID card then? We just need to verify your identity." Jinwoo quickly replied, "Yes." He took out his ID and handed it over. Park Chang-seok followed up politely. "Thank you." He briefly explained the procedure. "Once the background check is complete, an appropriate reward will be issued." Jinwoo replied simply, "I see." He smiled and turned to leave. "Then I'll leave it to you." Park Chang-seok's expression changed almost instantly. He pressed the call button and assigned a task to the person on the other end. "It's me. I just sent you some data. The subject of the investigation is none other than Baek Jinwoo." "Yes, Baek Jinwoo. Please investigate him for me." Jinwoo himself was still completely unaware of this. He returned to the spot where he had summoned Ramba. He held out a cake to her. "Here, You must have been frustrated not being able to talk earlier, right? Ramba's eyes sparkled at the sight of the food. Watching her enjoy the cake, Jinwoo could only comment to himself, she really is simple-minded. He felt much more relieved as he thought, I heard some players even argue with their summons, but with Ramba it's easy. A cake solves everything. Then he calculated other matters. Everything should be fine now, right? In his mind, Jinwoo recalled the recent fight. I didn't plan to get involved at first, but if I hadn't, everyone might have died there. He sighed, the world has changed, much more than I imagined. Jinwoo showed clear resolve. I can't delay the hunt any longer. Regarding his next targets, he first had to gather summoning scrolls as quickly as possible to summon the next entity. Among them, the reason for this choice was that the top priorities were the head trainer and the dragon mage. Since they are E rank and D rank, I can get them from low-grade summoning scroll. On this side, Ramba was already full. Jinwoo stood up and signaled, all right. A bright smile appeared on his face. Shall we head out? In the middle of the bustling park, Park Changseok exclaimed, what? He hurried to ask again. Baek Jinwoo was hospitalized for 3 years due to a car accident. At the same time, Park Changseok realized, no wonder he's an unregistered player. Old memories flooded back. Thinking about it, 3 years ago was when the world turned upside down. With such chaos back then, accidents were common. It made sense in a way. The HQ staff quickly added, yes, and he applied for player registration immediately after being discharged. Hearing this, he was startled. What? Urgently, Park Changseok looked over Jinwoo's information line by line. Looking at the paper, he muttered, is this for real? What the hell? The other person found it strange and asked, is there a problem, senior? However, he denied it. It's nothing. After a moment of reflection, Park Changseok suggested, by the way, regarding the examiners assigned for this month, tell them I will handle this one personally. Don't ask why. The person on the line quickly replied, yes, sir. A beep followed, signaling the end of the call. It left Park Changseok in deep thought. Waking up from an accident is one thing, but applying for registration immediately. His ability to adapt must be incredibly fast. The more he thought about it, the wider the smile on his face became. Baek Jinwoo. He might turn into an extraordinary talent. On the other hand, Jinwoo was now inside a formal building. He walked slowly, step by step, accompanied by sounds of fresh amazement. Jinwoo looked ahead warily. He knew it would be crowded, but seeing the suffocating mass of people, he asked doubtfully, are all these people here for training? Then he thought to himself, so I have to surpass all these rivals to become a player. Even so, he was very relaxed. That should be a piece of cake. No one understands this game better than I do. Just then, another rhythmic set of footsteps echoed. Before long, the examiner spoke. Is everyone present? This made Jinwoo look on eagerly. It started. However, Jinwoo's face quickly froze in shock. Standing right before him, Park Changseok clearly announced, I am Park Changseok, your headquarters examiner. I will now begin the training session prior to the written exam. Sometime later, as the sunlight began to fade, Jinwoo and Park Changseok were meeting in a cafe. You're a bit surprised, aren't you? At that question, he replied awkwardly, yes, well, I didn't expect the examiner to be you. Park Changseok smiled. I suppose this is what people call destiny. How was the training? How was the training? This time, however, Jinwoo continued to hesitate. Recalling earlier, Park Changseok had taught them a few things. This is a format that frequently appears in the written exam. Hearing this, Jinwoo was suddenly startled, considering the summon combination. His movements here accidentally woke the sleeping Ramba. What the? Meanwhile, he was feeling quite indignant. Is this a joke? Isn't this the combo I made famous years ago? You should have asked my permission before using that. Even so, he suppressed it with a forced smile. It wasn't bad. Park Changseok's laughter rang out. I'm glad to hear that. Then he cleared his throat. The reason I called you aside, Jinwoo, is because of the reward I mentioned last time. With a serious tone, Park Changseok began. But before that, there's something I want to ask you. Jinwoo replied curiously, what is it? Upon receiving consent, he immediately asked, Jinwoo, were you perhaps a gamer? Hearing that title, he looked surprised. A gamer. He quickly added, gamer is the term for those who played Summoner War in the past. Regardless of how long they played, as long as they played that game, they are called gamers. 70% of the top-ranked players in Korea were gamer. Thanks to that explanation, Jinwoo understood. Thinking about it, it was strange for someone who wasn't yet an official player to know about runes and summons. So he admitted it, yes, well, I did play it. That answer made Park Changseok excited. I knew it. May I ask how long you played? At this question, Jinwoo was somewhat hesitant. It was a dead game with very few players. If he said 10 years, he would be recognized immediately. After a moment of hesitation, he gave a lower number, about a year. But contrary to his worry, Park Chang-seok suddenly blurted out, Are you serious? His over-the-top reaction confused Jinwoo. Yes, is there a problem? What on earth did I undersell it too much? As for Park Chang-seok, he looked like he had just found a treasure. You actually played that dead game for a whole year. That's incredible. Conversely, Jinwoo was very awkward and couldn't argue. Next, Jinwoo replied G letter 1B0, letter 1EE3, and GG letter 1EA10. Yes, it just happened that way. Meanwhile, Park Chang-seok was overjoyed. Most Korean rankers only played for less than half a year, but you played for a full year. But he quickly returned to the main subject. Forgive me for losing my composure. I have prepared 2 reward options for you. Choose the one you want. Jinwoo nodded. All right, I understand. With that, he quickly listed them. First, I will not only use my authority to grant you player registration immediately, but I will also guarantee you a job position at headquarters. Jinwoo listened to this while resting his chin on his hand, completely indifferent. The second option, Park Chang-seok deliberately emphasized, is a 5 million won cash reward. He immediately judged. This is a choice that's as clear as day. As for Park Chang-seok, he was grinning triumphantly to himself. Now, what do you think? Not only registration, but a job at HQ, a place harder to enter than a major corporation. Naturally, he'll pick the first one. But Jinwoo's voice rang out decisively. I'll take the money. Hearing that, he was shocked. What did you say? What? But otherwise, player registration will take quite a while. Right. On the other hand, Jinwoo coldly drew a line. I appreciate your concern, but I'll be fine. At the same time, he took the initiative to stand up. I can handle the registration myself. And I don't actually have any intention of joining headquarters. I'm busy looking for summons. I don't have time to waste. Just like that, he went with his summon to take the exam. And before long, the staff called his name. Candidate Jinwoo. Ready, he replied. Yes. Next, she professionally gave instructions just as heard earlier in the practical part. You just need to clear the daily dungeons. This time you will enter the 3rd dungeon. The format is participation. At this moment, Park Chang-seok was watching them from behind. He was still bewildered. I never thought he would refuse. Park Chang-seok frowned slightly with tension. Furthermore, remembering what happened earlier when a cry of amazement rang out. This is crazy. He understands runes and summons more deeply than anyone. The Research Institute staff were delighted. Why didn't I think of this sooner? Thanks to this candidate, Baek Jinwoo, I realize how narrow my vision was. Another was moved to tears. Korea finally has a genius. He even asserted that if things go well, this guy might even make it into the rankings. This left Park Chang-seok dazed and confused. Is he really that good? Returning to the present, his regret grew. This is the first time I've seen those arrogant professors react like that. I should have offered better terms, shouldn't I? Just then the staff pointed toward the gate. The explanation ends here. You may now enter. Jinwoo stepped toward the entrance. Well then, he carried a sense of curiosity as he entered with the gorilla and Ramba. Shall we give it a try? The space transformed immediately. The system's energy enveloped him in a brilliant golden light. Before long, they stood in a completely different atmosphere. The dungeon description appeared before his eyes. A room full of highly poisonous slimes. Defeat the slimes and quickly exit the dungeon. Without further delay, Jinwoo gave the first command. Ramba. Ramba immediately acted energetically. I'll build up stacks right away. And thanks to this resonance, the gorilla continuously gained power. The 3rd dungeon was a maze. Its structure involved defeating slimes while finding the path, finally facing the boss. It was also where newbies wasted all their time getting lost. After he finished calculating, the corner of Jinwoo's mouth twitched up. He created a shield and charged straight forward. However, the slimes are very slow. Just ignore them and run straight through. Ramba also shouted, Let's go. Jinwoo thought at the same time, I got sick of being lost in this place, so finding the path is child's play. With that confidence, they aimed straight for a door over there. As soon as the door opened, Jinwoo immediately ran through it. If I take the shortcut, it's as good as done. But right then, danger warnings began to ring out. Jinwoo now appeared very expectant. This is the first real encounter, right? Before his eyes, a giant slime was waiting. Giant slime. Jinwoo excitedly ordered the attack. Ramba stood nearby, energetically casting spells. Let's rock, go. The gorilla charged forward head-on immediately. It leaped high into the air, preparing to strike the opponent. The gorilla used all its strength to deliver a violent downward punch. Its continuous barrage of punches made Jinwoo exclaim to himself. As expected, there's a reason Ramba is considered overpowered. He thought proudly, even an F-rank summon can have its attack speed increased to that level. Jinwoo watched excitedly. He imagined how terrifying it would be if that attack speed buff was applied to a stronger summon. On the other side, Ramba was vigorously cheering for the gorilla. Perfect. So good. Crush it. The system quickly displayed a message. You have defeated the boss monster. It continued to confirm the time. Dungeon cleared in 5 minutes 32 seconds. Jinwoo read it and sighed with resignation. So slow. When I was Jinwoo God, it took less than a minute, but that's expected with an F rank. The system flashed continuous notifications. Congratulations on setting a new record for South Korea. Special achievement unlocked. Jinwoo muttered in a daze. What? The notifications continued to pour in. First dash time achievement reward being delivered. 3x high-grade summoning scrolls. Additional reward being delivered. 12x low-grade abrasives. This result completely exceeded his expectations. This is the new South Korean record. Back in the familiar room at headquarters, a voice rang out in shock. Senior, look at this. The record has changed. The HQ employee widened her eyes and leaned in to look. What? Where? Her subordinate quickly pointed it out. The third beginner dungeon was cleared in 5 minutes 32 seconds. The HQ employee muttered in shock. In just 5 minutes, that's a huge reduction. Did Kang Jin-ho discover a new combination? She also saw the opponent's information card. Name, Jinwoo age, 20 country, South Korea birth date. The HQ employee remarked honestly, I've never heard this name. Her subordinate hypothesized doubtfully, I don't think he's a ranked player. This hypothesis made her even more astonished. So an unknown player broke a record, and a first-place record at that. The news quickly spread to the headquarters meeting. A staff member whispered in shock, this is truly incredible. She wasn't the only one. Another was equally excited. In his heart, Park Chang-seok praised Jinwoo to the limit. There's no doubt about it. He's the real deal. Baek Jinwoo is a national treasure. He officially made a firm resolution. No matter what, we must keep him. At the very least, if our country is to survive, we must prevent him from naturalizing elsewhere. Park Chang-seok urgently gave instructions to his subordinates. Register Jinwoo as a player immediately. The female employee asked in surprise, what, without even needing a duel? Park Chang-seok analyzed eloquently. As everyone knows, time attack is divided into domestic and global. The first place in Korea held by Kang Jin-ho is 6 minutes 41 seconds. The first place globally held by Rachel is 2 minutes 25 seconds. He personally stood up to persuade everyone. Jinwoo has surpassed the time of the top player in Korea. Does a player duel still have any meaning? Park Chang-seok stated firmly, I believe that those with talent must be granted special privilege. The magnificent headquarters of the General Department loomed impressively in the distance. Jinwoo stood there, feeling utterly weary. I can't believe 5 minutes is the top record. Is this really the extent of South Korea's skill level? A familiar voice called out, Mr. Jinwoo. Park Chang-seok welcomed him with a radiant smile. I've been looking forward to meeting you. Seeing that expression, Jinwoo flinched, thinking it looked genuinely creepy. As soon as they met, the man rambled on incessantly. I saw your time attack record. It was absolutely amazing. How on earth did you break the South Korean record on your very first try? The maze in the third dungeon is incredibly complex, isn't it? Jinwoo could only offer a perfunctory laugh. I guess so. He thought to himself awkwardly, it feels like I'm being praised for being a fish that's good at swimming. Park Chang-seok personally handed him a card. First of all, please accept this. Jinwoo took the card and muttered in shock. This is, the man immediately explained with excitement, it's your player card. You've been granted an exemption to register as a player immediately. Park Chang-seok emphasized grandly, because you have nothing left to prove. Upon receiving the card, Jinwoo was also very satisfied. This isn't bad at all, is it? Suddenly, the man hesitated before continuing, politely expressing his curiosity. By the way, may I ask how you managed to break the record? Holding the player card in his hand, Jinwoo suddenly hesitated. He weighed his options carefully. If I share what I know now, South Korea's skill level will skyrocket in the blink of an eye. Jinwoo had to think this through thoroughly. The problem is what happens next. In the best-case scenario, they worship me as Jinwoo God, and I enjoy fame and fortune with government back. But he also considered the worst-case scenario, being kidnapped by villains, interrogated, and forced to spill everything he knew, or even being coerced and stripped of everything. After weighing it all, Jinwoo finally spoke with caution. First, he bluntly questioned Park Chang-seok. You know that question you just asked was extremely impolite, right? The man understood and stepped up to take the blame. Yes, I apologize. Park Chang-seok continued candidly. A gamer's strategy is only shared among other gamers. It is extremely sensitive information. But he continued to push his point firmly. But please understand that South Korea is just that desperate for talent. Jinwoo could sense Park Chang-seok's determination. He doesn't seem like a bad person. He silently assessed his opponent's behavior. He transferred the promised money immediately. His personality seems decent, and he appears very reasonable. A smirk of interest appeared on his face as an idea struck him. What if I try to use the government? If I play this right, I might even grow faster than I could on my own. Therefore, Jinwoo responded to the examiner, Park Chang-seok. He made a formal proposal. Shall we go somewhere else for a moment? Let's talk privately. They moved to a cozy cafe nearby. Park Chang-seok expressed his desire directly. I'll be blunt. Please help us. He emphasized sincerely. Our headquarters needs your knowledge, Mr. Jinwoo. Park Chang-seok also revealed frankly. We looked into it and heard you were bedridden in the hospital for 3 years. Jinwoo looked slightly annoyed. So you ran a background check on me. Faced with that, the man had to confess. I'm sorry, but unregistered players with high skill levels are often suspected to be with the league. Jinwoo snapped back with a cold face. Now that I'm registered, there won't be any more investigations, right? Don't ever do that again. Park Chang-seok immediately promised obediently, of course. Jinwoo's nonchalant attitude also made the man suspicious. Normally, people become fearful and cooperative the moment the government is mentioned. Yet this guy showed no such signs. He knows exactly what he's worth. Jinwoo set his coffee cup down and got down to business. First of all, I've actually given this some thought. What's in it for me if I help the government? Park Chang-seok declared resolutely. Cooperation from me. It seems you don't quite understand that part yet. He proudly introduced himself to Jinwoo. It's a bit embarrassing to say it myself, but I actually hold a fairly high position within the headquarters. Park Chang-seok continued to explain. Headquarters examiners are elected by public vote, so if my performance is good, I can get more votes and climb even higher. Jinwoo vaguely understood the definition, so he's essentially a politician. After explaining, Park Chang-seok expressed his commitment firmly. Therefore, within the scope of my authority, I will provide you with every possible support. Jinwoo weighed the offer silently. That sounds a bit unappealing. The compensation is vague, and as a public official, he can't just use the budget however he wants. Finally, he came to his own decision. All right, how about this? Jinwoo tapped the table and spoke seriously. Just for 1 month, Park Chang-seok was stunned by the short time frame. What? Jinwoo gave a confident smile as he explained his condition. Since I just registered, I will require your support during my growth period for 1 month. He laid out the terms clearly. If I find it satisfactory, we can continue to cooperate. If not, I will return everything I've received or provide you with information of equivalent value. Park Chang-seok couldn't help but laugh at Jinwoo's shrewdness. So what he's saying is he wants to use me as his personal assistant for a month. He thought to himself with amusement, how brazen, but I have no choice. Then Park Chang-seok reached out his hand and accepted grandly. Deal. Because he was certain that by staying close to this kid, he would definitely gain more in the long run. Park Chang-seok shook Jinwoo's hand to finalize the agreement. Then it's settled. Jinwoo continued his exchange with Park Chang-seok. He spoke seriously as he made his first request. First, there's something I want to ask. Please don't let the news of my new record get out. Jinwoo stated honestly, I'm concerned about my safety. Park Chang-seok was momentarily puzzled, but he quickly understood. No. He silently noted to himself. A headquarters that can't even handle a single gang has no business trying to protect a top-tier talent. Park Chang-seok clenched his hands in tension. Baek Jinwoo knew this all too well. Ultimately, Park Chang-seok agreed, I understand. I'll do my best to keep this under control. He quickly added, but over time, some information leaking out will be inevitable. Without needing to hear the rest, Jinwoo stood up immediately. That's good enough. He made a sharp exit. Then I'll take my leave. Park Chang-seok could only bid an awkward goodbye. See you next time. In the end, Jinwoo had achieved what he wanted. Good. Now I've made him keep his mouth shut. He pulled out his phone, thinking excitedly to himself, time to see the rewards I just got. Jinwoo checked the system and was full of praise. He muttered to himself in a daze, these rewards are insane. The polish is standard, but there's actually a high-rank summoning scroll. Jinwoo nodded in approval. Just as expected from a first clear achievement reward, it's something each player only gets once. But then he hesitated. I really want to open them right now, but gambling with only 3 scrolls is a bit risky. Jinwoo whispered under his breath, maybe it's better to sell them for cash. Suddenly, he remembered something. Oh right, I still have that. Jinwoo pulled out his phone immediately. It was the player network, a place that only registered players could use. Most item transactions were carried out through here. He reflexively recalled Park Chang-seok's words when he installed the app. You absolutely have to use this. I highly recommend it. And so, Jinwoo began to browse the search results. Let's see. The prices that appeared made him gasp in shock. Huh. Jinwoo pressed the phone right up to his face as if he couldn't believe his eyes. What? He muttered tremblingly. High-rank items are going for 3 million won. Jinwoo quickly did the math in his head, stunned. So that means I just earned 900,000 won in just 5 minutes of running a dungeon. This is insane. A capitalist spirit suddenly surged within him. And this is only at this level. Once my stats increase even more. The vision of wealth left Jinwoo mesmerized as he thought, Mom, Dad, and Ajin too. I'll never let any of you worry about money ever again. The whole family would be happy. He began to seriously filter his items. First, I'll sell these high-rank summoning scrolls and use the money to buy low-rank ones instead. The Army Trainer and Fire Dragon Mage were both game-breaking summoners that could take down S-ranks. Until he summoned those two, he would only open low-rank scrolls. His shopping cart was already set. He was selling 3 high-rank summoning scrolls. But as he browsed, Jinwoo noticed an inconsistency. The low-rank ones are usually accumulated just by running dungeons. Why are they priced at 5,001 each? And despite the fact that sellers far outnumbered buyers, no one was selling them for any cheap. Another brilliant idea struck Jinwoo. At times like these, he placed a call. The other end picked up immediately. Hello. The person he called was Ajin. Jinwoo thought deviously to himself, it's time to use my sister's luck. The explanation of the situation didn't take long. Ajin quickly tipped him off that the headquarters is buying them up. Jinwoo asked back, puzzled, the headquarters? Why? The voice on the other end replied casually, I heard it's to support new players or something like that. Ajin gave a detailed explanation of the process. They use the state budget to buy scrolls in bulk, and the floor price is always 5,001, but they only buy a limited amount each day. She emphasized since you can always sell to the headquarters, no one is willing to lower their price. They just hold onto them and wait. Thanks to Ajin, Jinwoo realized the truth. So that's it. Ajin quickly added, but it looks like that policy is about to be abolished. He asked in surprise, why? She pointed out directly, it's an old policy from the early days, so now those low-rank scrolls the headquarters doesn't even use are piling up like mountains. This was exactly what Jinwoo needed to hear. Really? Thanks for letting me know. I'm hanging up now. He smirked triumphantly, deciding to take full advantage of this opportunity. So there's a massive oversupply of low-rank scrolls, The next day in Park Chang-seok's office, he radiantly welcomed the key figure. Welcome, Mr. Jinwoo. Park Chang-seok laughed heartily. I bet you missed me, coming back so quickly like this. Jinwoo deliberately dodged the comment. Yes, something like that. He asked warmly, what can I do for you? Jinwoo hesitated before speaking, politely stating his request. Well, I was wondering if I could get some low-rank summoning scrolls. Park Chang-seok was taken aback. What, not mid-rank or high-rank? He continued to ask enthusiastically, how many were you thinking? Jinwoo went straight for the kill. As many as possible. Park Chang-seok whispered seriously. As many as, he thought carefully. I receive 50,000 scrolls every day, so giving him a few wouldn't be a problem at all. But Park Chang-seok laid out a boundary first. I can give them to you, but if you're planning on reselling them for profit. Jinwoo explained nonchalantly, it's nothing like that. They're just gathering dust on the market anyway, so I figured I might as well use them myself. At those words, the man understood immediately. So you've already calculated everything. Park Chang-seok began to view him differently. Baek Jinwoo is a player who is completely different from the rest. If a person like him is going to the trouble of collecting low-rank scrolls like this, he must be plotting something very special. He responded generously, all right, but I have a condition. Jinwoo looked surprised. A condition. Only then did Park Chang-seok make his demand firmly. Give me a decent piece of information as a sample. He reasoned perfectly logically. I am an elected official at the headquarters. If I'm caught arbitrarily handing out scrolls purchased with taxpayers' money, the people will lose their trust in me. Park Chang-seok stated bluntly, so if you provide me with information, I'll give you a corresponding number of low-rank scrolls in return. You see, I need at least a few safety nets for myself. It seemed Jinwoo had expected this, so he won't just hand them over for free, He became even more confident. Even better, that means if I give him good information, he'll treat it as having equivalent value. Jinwoo accepted readily. That sounds fair. He began to reveal a point. First of all, there's something called a reward chain. Park Chang-seok, as expected, had never heard the phrase, a reward chain. Jinwoo continued to clarify. Exactly. Currently, the reward for the #1 domestic achievement is set at 3 high-rank scrolls per dungeon. But when another player breaks that record, they can receive the reward all over again. For example, with a record of 5 minutes 32 seconds compared to 6 minutes 20 seconds, they would receive 3 high-rank scrolls. So if players take turns breaking the record by just 1 second each time, they can maximize the total value of the rewards received. The more they do that, the more South Korea's national power will increase accordingly. Park Chang-seok quickly took note of this clever method. I see. Actually, that was a method we used in the past as well. Most current gamers have already received that reward once. He agreed immediately. However, there are still many players who haven't received any rewards yet, so I don't think this will cause any issues. Jinwoo nodded briefly. I understand. He continued to reveal more. and the full information I'm offering is the complete strategy for the third dungeon. Park Chang-seok clapped his hands together excitedly. I knew it. He asked with wide eyes, is it the same method you used this time? Jinwoo was slightly weary of the enthusiasm. No, it's the one the 5 emperors once used. He continued to explain the execution. That's right. With this method, anyone who follows it can complete the dungeon in about 3 minutes. Park Chang-seok cheered excitedly. 3 minutes, what kind of method is it? Suddenly, Jinwoo cut him off seriously. He quickly held up 5 fingers. Before we go any further into that, we should decide on a fair price for this information. In addition to the low-rank scrolls you promised, I want 50 high-rank summoning scrolls. How does that sound? Park Chang-seok gasped in shock. Wait, 50 scrolls is 150 million won. Jinwoo remained firm. Honestly, that's still a bargain. He emphasized bluntly, this tactic works even in high-level dungeons, not just those low-level ones, and the amount of achievement rewards you'll get from that alone is worth billions. Naturally, Park Chang-seok couldn't argue. That was simply the truth. Finally, he decided to accept the deal. Agreed. Park Chang-seok announced excitedly, if your information is accurate, I will transfer 150 million won immediately, and we will provide you with 10,000 low-rank scrolls every day. Satisfied with the trade, Jinwoo smiled and assured him, you won't regret this deal. It was late afternoon when a staff member's voice rang out, Examiner, everyone has gathered. Park Chang-seok's team members had assembled. One of them wondered, why the sudden meeting right at the end of the day? A smile played on Park Chang-seok's face. I called you here because there's something I want to test. The young man on the opposite side felt excited as well. Oh ho, the examiner never just calls us like this for no reason. So this definitely isn't a normal test, is it? Park Chang-seok began his presentation. You've all heard the news that the record for the third dungeon was just broken, right? Everyone listening focused on the topic. I've heard something about it. I think the guy's name was Jinwoo. Park Chang-seok's face was full of confidence as he revealed, this time, I've gotten hold of a brilliant strategy from overseas. I tested it on the player Jinwoo, and the results were absolutely perfect. However, those across from him were a bit bewildered. Is that true? So that's why you ordered that this shouldn't be leaked outside. They were sharp enough to guess the purpose. So the reason you called us here is... Park Chang-seok did not hesitate to admit it. That's right, he solemnly declared. From this moment forward, we will be conducting time attack trials in the third instance. And then we will begin preparing the lineup by summoning a key entity. The key summon required to conquer this instance is this little guy right here. Looking at the spotted Komodo, the other members were puzzled. Isn't that just a spotted Komodo dragon? The spotted Komodo is a summon of the spotted lizard species, approximately the size of an adult human. It possesses high durability and decent attack power, a typical gladiator type. At least that is the common knowledge everyone has. Its basic stats are as follows. B-rank spotted Komodo, height 170 cm, an all-around summon capable of both tanking and dealing damage. However, in reality, being a B-rank makes it quite difficult to raise. Compared to other B-ranks, both its damage output and defensive capabilities are mediocre, leading it to be a summon often ignored by players. However, players are completely unaware that the primary food source for the spotted Komodo is the giant slime. Simply feeding it right within the instance allows it to hunt giant slimes, creating a night and day difference in performance. At a high-rise building at this moment, a series of notifications appeared one after another. Beginner's third instance, national first place. Park Chun-Sik clear time, 5 minutes 31 seconds. Beginner's third instance, national first place. Lee Dong-Myung clear time, 5 minutes 29 seconds. Everyone participating in the trial was ecstatic. Examiner, everything you said was true. We reached the final boss room in less than 4 minutes. That Komodo dragon's appetite is no joke. This little guy is a real lifesaver. They quickly concluded, so from now on, we don't have to worry about cleaning up the aftermath. We might even be able to challenge the world record. Time continued to pass. The following day, a news report appeared on the screen. South Korea continuously breaks records in the third instance. Is the yaksha of headquarters Park Chang-seok the one behind this? Below was another article. Examiner Park Chang-seok collects valuable information at a low price from abroad. Can they challenge the world record? The public was vibrating with excitement at this potential for growth. Reading this, Park Chang-seok couldn't help but feel satisfied. This made everything certain. Jinwoo's value has far surpassed that of an ordinary first-year gamer. He reached a final conclusion. All right, I've decided. I will establish a specialized team dedicated solely to Jinwoo. In Park Chang-seok's hand was a stack of files. Regarding the members, he laid them out on the table. These 3 should be sufficient. Somewhere else, Jinwoo's hand holding the phone was shaking uncontrollably. An irrepressible excitement was written all over his face. Is making money always this easy? Mr. Park Changseok is truly generous. Even Ramba chimed in. How many cream-filled cakes can we buy with this amount of money? Jinwoo proceeded to open the information panel. Before him was the storage for summoning scrolls. Low-grade summoning scrolls times 10,000. After reading, he muttered with satisfaction. The 10,000 low-grade summoning scrolls that the HQ staff sent this morning. He kept his word, so I must finish my part of the work as well. He casually unscrewed the cap of a water bottle, then turned to the person beside him and asked, Ramba, are you ready? She replied eagerly, ready. Water was gently poured from the bottle. Indeed, what they were doing was praying before opening the blind bags. Dear Lord Buddha, Allah, spirits of heaven and earth. Ramba prayed fervently, please let our Jinwoo summon a masterpiece. This was a summoning ritual she had performed since the time of Jinwoo God. With the formalities completed, Jinwoo finally took out a summoning scroll. All right, let's do this. The moment for the endless summoning chain began. With unwavering faith, he forcefully tore the paper. But life always has a way of slapping you in the face at critical moments. Jinwoo lay sprawled on the ground, surrounded by a swarm of low-level summons. I've opened 3,600 scrolls in just 1 hour. By now, shouldn't something good have dropped? Why are they all effing? Ramba poked a finger into his cheek. Silly, of course not yet. She explained seriously. Did you think an X-rank like me would drop so easily? To which Jinwoo shot back. Why not? Didn't I pull you on the very first try? Hearing that, Ramba gave a simple explanation. That was just pure luck. Then she kindly broke down the probability. To pull an X-rank, even 1,000,000 scrolls might not cut it, let alone one. Jinwoo couldn't help but be shocked. What are you saying? Seeing his expression, Ramba realized. Jinwoo, you really don't know anything about the summoning system, do you? Jinwoo repeated blankly. The summoning system. Now Ramba began her explanation. The total number of summons is exactly 10% of the player population. 8 billion people equals 800 million summons. There are probably over 800 million horned caterpillars, just like the ones you just pulled. She pointed at his face as she added, her expression completely serious. Because we have an isolated status, only one unique individual exists for each type. Hearing this, Jinwoo was so surprised he cried out, what, why? But this time she could only shrug. I don't know the reason why either. Ramba added steadily, as I said before, the only thing certain right now is that it seems only you can summon isolated X-rank entities, Jinwoo. The future felt increasingly bleak to him. There were tens of thousands of different types of summons, and she was saying there are 800 million of each type. Jinwoo broke into a sweat as he calculated the odds, and I have to pull a one-of-a-kind X-rank from among all of those. He became instantly depressed. Winning the jackpot multiple times in a row would be easier than this. Ramba kindly offered a word of comfort. Don't worry too much, though. Then she added some more information. Once a summon has been pulled, it won't appear again unless you discard it. For example, suppose all 800 million horned caterpillars have been summoned. Here is the final friend. I am the 800 millionth friend. If that happens, horned caterpillars will never appear in future summons again. Despite hearing that, Jinwoo couldn't help but feel exhausted. Even so, things are going to be very difficult. At this point, Ramba could only agree. That's true. Desperate, Jinwoo thought about taking a gamble. Should I just start opening the mid-grade scroll? Fortunately, his remaining sense of logic stopped him. No, that would be too inefficient. They are expensive, and there aren't many available on the market anyway. Standing up, Jinwoo muttered, the win rate is nearly 0. Yet he held a piece of paper and declared loudly, the win rate is nearly 0. A plea echoed through the air. Drop, please. Ramba could only cheer enthusiastically. That's it, you can do it, Jinwoo. In the afternoon, the sunset sky cast warm colors over the rooftop. Jinwoo held his neck and lamented, I'm about to die. Ramba lay face down on a pillow, her voice coaxing, Jinwoo, I want cake. He sat dazed, pinching her cheek while thinking. Reflecting on it, I spent all the money I earned over half a year in just 2 weeks. Ramba shouted with both panic and concern. The dark circles. Jinwoo really is on the verge of death in many senses. Jinwoo glanced slightly to one side. He put both hands on his head, staring at the ceiling. I even had to rent a room near the player district just to summon entities. Regardless, I can't keep being a burden to my parents forever. He sat up, bracing his hands on the mattress. Well then, shall we go back to synthesizing today? Wake up, Ramba. She stretched out, her voice full of excitement. Kate. Scene changed to the general store, formerly a hotel, which had only changed recently. After the Challenge Tower appeared, other buildings began to transform as well. For instance, this hotel building suddenly turned into a general store. I remember the buffet here used to be quite famous. Jinwoo and Ramba stood before a machine. He looked down at the number on the slip, his voice soft. Number 125. She flew up beside him and cautioned, Jinwoo, you mustn't make a mistake. Remember to look carefully before putting them in. Got it, he smiled and replied firmly. Of course. Jinwoo glanced at the screen and saw his number had come up. It's our turn, let's go. Both of them entered a room. He spoke to her. I'm counting on you again today, Ramba. She fluttered her wings and replied, we can do this. The system screen quickly appeared before Jinwoo. The words gradually appeared. Welcome to the general store. Please try synthesizing your summon. Wind Spirit has been registered. He reached out and pressed a button on the screen. Do you wish to synthesize Wind Spirit? Information began to pour in continuously. F-rank Fire Lizard has been sacrificed and vanished. F-rank Fire Lizard has been sacrificed and vanished. F-rank Fire Lizard has been sacrificed and vanished. He was dazzled by the volume. That really is a lot. The mechanical sound from the system rang out. Synthesis complete. EX-rank Wind Spirit's level has increased to 21. EX-rank Wind Spirit's intelligence stat has increased by 2. Jinwoo clapped, but his face wasn't very happy. I spent 140,000 summons, and she's only reached level 21. Ramba asked excitedly, how is it? Do you see how strong I am, Jinwoo? He laughed and replied, thinking to himself, our Ramba is the best. The max level is 100. At this rate, who knows when we'll finish. A few days later, at a tall and massive building, the sound of rhythmic typing echoed along with some humming. Park Changseok said with a beaming face, Byung-jin, you seem more energetic than usual today, don't you? He could only bow his head and reply, yes, sir. Park Changseok flipped through some papers, thinking, now that we've formed a talent management team, I'll put all my effort into Baek Jinwoo to secure this sector. He suddenly turned and asked, Byung-jin, what is Baek Jinwoo up to currently? He turned his head and answered hesitantly, well, it seems he's just continuously opening summoning scrolls. He took many more today as well. Holding the documents, his expression was a bit shocked. There's still more. Byung-jin added, and he asked if he could use the 150 million he just received to buy even more low-grade summoning scrolls. Park Changseok lowered the stack of papers to look at him. What? Byung-jin put a hand to his chin, looking away. He asked if he could buy them at a price lower than the market rate, so I told him I'd look into it for now. But lately, the Management Bureau has been keeping an eye on us because of these continuous bulk orders. What should we do? He looked down at the papers in his hand and thought, he's reinvesting a massive sum of money into low-grade summoning scrolls that usually can't even be sold. Something is definitely going on. Park Changseok clenched his fist and spoke up. Sell them to him for half price. Byung-jin was so startled he stood up abruptly. What, half price? He interlaced his hands, his voice slow. If we're caught giving him such special treatment. Park Changseok suddenly wore a mysterious smile. Don't worry too much, Byung-jin. Baek Jinwoo could become South Korea's hero in the future. And if it's revealed later that we overcame all difficulties to support him, gaining an even higher approval rating will be a simple matter. He placed his hand on the table and said, for now, just do as I say. Park Changseok stood up and looked out the window. Furthermore, this matter stays between me, Jaya, and Tseop. The scene changed. Outside, the sun was shining brightly. A withered Jinwoo sat counting papers on a vacant plot of land. 1556, 1557, 1558. An exhausted Ramba asked, Jinwoo, how much longer are we going to do this? I can't feel my hands anymore. He replied with an emotionless tone, until either I die or you die. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed. Someone approached slowly. The person spoke, drawing both of their attention. Hello. She smiled, hands on her hips, and said, it's a pleasure to meet you. I am Yu Jaya from headquarters. Jinwoo stood up, scratching his head, and replied, yes, what wind brings you here? Jai-Ah extended her hand and explained, I'm here to discuss the purchase of summoning scrolls that you talked about with the examiner last time. He immediately recognized the issue and replied, yes, that's right. As I mentioned before, is there any possibility of renegotiating the price? She put a hand to her cheek and smiled. Actually, we had an internal meeting about that, and after considering your recent contributions, Baek Jinwoo. Jaya smiled radiantly and continued, just for this time, we've decided to give you a special discount, half off 50%. Hearing that, he was stunned. Really, Mr. Park Changseok is the best. She quickly added, that's right, and furthermore, our team has decided to provide you with an additional 100 million won. It's taken from the talent management reward category. Jinwoo was ecstatic hearing Jaya's words. She stepped closer, putting a finger to her lips. However, you must keep this an absolute secret. He quickly clapped his hands in excitement. Oh my, of course, don't you worry about a thing. Jaya leaned into Jinwoo's ear and whispered, and we hope you understand that this is to build a good relationship between you and our side. Baek Jinwoo was so happy he replied instantly, I completely understand. Having said that, she stepped back, preparing to leave. Well then, you're probably busy, so I'll take my leave. Jinwoo stood still, watching Jaya's retreating back. He smiled, thinking, I can really feel the examiner's goodwill in wanting to support me fully. I need to summon another X-rank quickly to repay. Time moved from afternoon to evening. Ramba, exhausted, flopped down onto the pile of papers on the ground. Jinwoo, how much longer are we going to do this? I've been praying a bit more. My hands are catching fire. He replied to her in a daze. Until we pull the trainer and the dragon mate. Ramba cried out, pulling her own hair and screaming, I'm going to go crazy from this paper-tearing sound. Please just appear. Whether it's the trainer or the dragon mage, either is fine. Jinwoo's hands tore a piece of paper in half, and a blinding light appeared immediately. Please. A loud thunderclap echoed. The paper was torn into 4 pieces and flew high into the air. What the hell? Jinwoo immediately remembered the previous scene. This effect was exactly like when Ramba appeared. She stood beside him, her eyes wide with anticipation. Could it be? A system notification appeared. Player Beak Jinwoo has received a summon, X-rank dragon mate. The two of them were moved to tears. Ramba hugged him tightly in excitement. We did it, you did it. Jinwoo was so happy he burst into tears. Oh my god, I can die happy now. He immediately adjusted himself. Wait, this isn't the time to rest. We can't stop now. We have to ride this gacha momentum. Standing beside him, she was stunned. Gacha momentum. He reached out and took another scroll. It was the moment of explosion. Jinwoo aggressively tore it open. When you're on a lucky streak, you have to push forward and get even more. Low-grade summoning scroll in use. Player Beak Jinwoo has received a summon, X-rank trainer. Ramba stared at the system board in disbelief. Gacha momentum is real. He bit his lip in extreme joy. Finally, Jinwoo looked at the entities before him and thought, finally those two are also looking at him. I've summoned them. Hunjio raised his head, looking around and asked, where is this? Originally, this was a summon that not many people liked because it was only E-rank with weak combat ability. Jinwoo clenched his fist in excitement, but his true value lies in being a training fanatic. A total lunatic who only knows about training. Own skills, growth through training, overwhelming enchantment of other summons. Hunjio himself was very weak, and his basic skills were nothing special. But once he gains the trainer's skill through growth, the trainer will unlock the hidden potential of other summons and vastly increase their growth rate. Ramba suddenly looked terrifying in his imagination. With this skill, I can make other summons stronger. This is exactly how I'll always stay ahead of other rankers. She expressed her dislike immediately. I really don't want to get any stronger, Jinwoo. Jinwoo smiled, turning to wave at him. Hunjio, long time no see. Hearing him say that, he frowned. Hunjio, that nickname. Hunjio immediately recognized Jinwoo. Could you be Jinwoo God? He put his hands on his hips, head tilted up as he replied, that's right. He quickly dropped to one knee in deep respect. Sir, this is incredible. After being put into an isolated state for unknown reasons, I thought I'd never see you again. Jinwoo just listened in silence, thinking, just as I thought. Both Ramba and Hunjio developed exactly as I raised. Hunjio bowed his head low, his voice loud and clear. It is an honor to see you again. Pakryong also slowly took a step forward. She shyly asked, Sir Jinwoo God, is it really you? He was somewhat shocked and thought, this is the first time I've ever heard Pakryong's voice. D-rank mage-type summoner, dragon mage. Summon, dragon mage, human race, isolated S-rank. She was a magic school dropout, but it turned out there was an ancient explosive dragon sleeping in her heart, turning her into a powerful fire-type, damage-dealing assassin. Her skills were initially mediocre, but what happens if Hunjio awakens them? Own skill. Explosive Dragon Wave releases dragon-shaped flames forward. Predation permanently increases the damage of Explosive Dragon Wave. Every time a boss-level enemy is defeated with this skill, she will receive an overpowered skill called Predation, because without Hunjio, that Predation skill cannot be unlocked. I am the only player who can master Pakryong. Pakryong was incredibly excited upon seeing Jinwoo. Master Jinwoo God, I really missed you so much. He felt a bit of smug satisfaction, the corners of his mouth turning up slightly. Hess, me too, a great dragon that's so cute it's dangerous. After adjusting his status, Jinwoo gave an order. For now, don't say anything when other people are around, and instead of calling me Jinwoo God, just call me Jinwoo. The two of them immediately obeyed. Understood. Yes, Master Jinwoo. He shoved his hands into his pockets and looked up at the sky. All right, now let's head home and get some sleep. Inside the quiet room, the curtains were half closed. Jinwoo sprawled out on the bed, his body completely drained. The three spirits sat below, huddling together. Hunjio spoke up to start a conversation. It's been a while, hasn't it? Pakryong replied quickly. It really has. He glanced down at Ramba. And you, should I call you Ramba? Her eyes sparkled as she looked up at Hunjio. You're Hunjio, right? We only just met about a month before we were separated. Isn't that right? Since I was already an active summon when you were recruited, that makes me your senior. He crossed his arms, acting indifferent, if you say so. Suddenly, Hunjio's expression darkened visibly. However, that means nothing to me. I only have one thing to say. He leaned down toward the two girls with a grim face. We are too weak. We still have a long way to go if we want to be of use to him in the future. That's why, even while he's sleeping, we must continue to train. Hunjio pointed toward Pakryong. First, Pakryong, sit down and focus on sensing mana. After I awaken, I'll unlock Prey for you. Pakryong nodded slightly at him. Prey, I understand. Hunjio quickly shifted his sharp gaze toward Ramba. She trembled violently at the sight, her face full of terror. And you, Ramba. Ramba shook. You need to increase your sword-swinging speed, so from now on, you'll be doing physical training with me. Physical training, Ramba cried out in protest. But I'm a spirit. A glint appeared in Hunjio's eyes. Don't you want to help our master? Ramba stammered. Well, of course I do. His eyes immediately locked onto hers. Then start swinging that pan. Since today is the first day, we'll just do a light 5,000 reps. Ramba was utterly horrified. 5,000. Ramba's hand trembled as she reached out toward him. Jinwoo. Before she could even call for help, she was carried off by Hunjio like an object. Please save me. In the early morning, a gentle breeze blew through the city. Inside the room, a voice rang out. What? You can't give me any more low-rank summoning scroll. Jai-Ah stood with one hand on her hip and the other raised as she replied. That's right. The office just issued a notice. It's an order from the head of the main office. Park Changseok thought to himself with concern. From the director. He should be extremely busy, so why would he suddenly take notice of such trivial matter? She continued, making his expression worsen. In addition, they requested a detailed explanation regarding the use of the low-rank summoning scrolls received so far. Park Changseok gritted his teeth and cursed. Damn it. Jai-Ah rubbed her chin. It seems Examiner I am Hisu has a hand in this. His mind was in a whirl as he asked. That bastard is always looking for ways to oppose me. She crossed her arms and sighed. What should we do now? I've already prepared the explanatory documents, but if the Management Bureau cuts off the supply of scrolls, we won't have anything left to give to Baek Jinwoo. Park Changseok clenched his fist as he began to calculate. It's almost time to deliver the next batch. Suddenly he remembered something, his eyes widening. Park Chang-Seok glanced at the phone ringing on the desk. Byung-jin saw this and approached, asking, "What is it?" He spoke with a stern voice. It seems we won't need to provide him with any more low-rank summoning scroll. Park Chang-seok frowned and stared at her. More importantly, he didn't say more but thought to himself, I need to settle the score with that bastard I am Hisu. A few messages popped up on the phone on the desk. I don't need any more low-rank summoning scrolls. I've already gotten what I wanted. Thanks anyway. The scene shifted to Mount Gwanak, near Sianbawi Station, Gwasan City, Gyeonggi Province. Jinwoo stepped onto the ground and let out a sigh of relief. He raised a hand to shade his eyes from the sunlight. So this is a normal dungeon. In BOS, there are 4 types of dungeons. The Tower of Trials, Daily Dungeons, Normal Dungeons, and the Chaos Dragon. First is the Daily Dungeon, where players can gather specific materials every day. Second is the Tower of Trials. Its difficulty is hellish compared to normal dungeons. This is the place for players to challenge their limits. The rewards are extremely generous, but the death rate is correspondingly high. Third is the Chaos Dragon. That is a raid boss that you must form a party to challenge. But since it hasn't been updated yet, I'll save that explanation for later. Aside from those 3 types, all other places are considered normal dungeons. That is where he was heading this time. Jinwoo checked his phone as he walked. In BOS, they are also known as tiered dungeons, but in reality, they just appear randomly. They can be played in a party, but I don't really have a need for a team. He stopped in front of a large mountain. Before Jinwoo stood a gate with a no-entry sign. He leaned down to observe. Once a dungeon is created, after a certain amount of time passes, a dungeon break occurs and monsters will swarm out. I need to resolve this quickly. As Jinwoo approached, the gatekeeper spoke up. If you plan on entering the dungeon, I'll need to check your license first. He took out his identification card and handed it to him. Here. The man took it and gave it a quick look. All right, confirmation complete. Jinwoo said nothing more and stepped into the gate. Please be careful. A flash of light appeared. Jinwoo slowly opened his eyes. Fierce bolts of lightning suddenly appeared around him. The sound of clashing metal rang out clearly in the stagnant air. Crowds of people were charging and attacking each other. So this is the scene, both gloomy and chaotic. A conquest dungeon. The soldiers began to shout. The orcs are advancing. Pour the boiling water down. The giant orcs kept climbing up, terrifying the people. Die, they quickly shot it through the head, sending it falling down. Back when it was just BOS, it was only a game, so it didn't feel real at all. A giant orc saw this and lunged forward to retaliate. Another person rushed over to help a fallen comrade. Heal, we need a healer over here. Jinwoo's face darkened as he watched the scene. Is this what real war looks like? He closed his eyes, steadying himself. I have to stay calm. I just need to do what I always do. A protective shield quickly enveloped Jinwoo. He called out loudly, all three of you appear at once. Everyone get ready. A system window appeared. EX-rank Wind Spirit has been summoned. EX-rank Trainer has been summoned. EX-rank Dragon Mage has been summoned. Next, two more windows appeared. D-rank Metal Spirit has been summoned. D-rank Mini Kong has been summoned. Among the D-ranks, there's no one better than these guys. Sorry, Bong S-1E7 was sacrificed for Mini Kong. Jinwoo looked at her and ordered, Ramba, buff Hunjio's attack speed. She smiled and accepted the order. Roger. He then looked toward the other girl and called out, Pakryong, prepare to provide fire support for Hunjio from the rear. She gripped her staff tightly and replied, yes, sir. Jinwoo swung his arm forward. Mini Kong headed straight for the orc boss. It immediately leaped high into the air to prepare for an attack. The rules of the Orc Conquest dungeon are very simple. Just defeat the giant orc at the very back and it will all be over. A loud explosion rang out, and the surrounding rocks shattered. Mini Kong was now standing face to face with the giant orc. Seeing someone attacking it, the orc raised its weapon high and let out a roar. The orc struck down with great force, but Kong raised its arms to block. Ramba stood on the outside, constantly buffing their strength as they moved forward. Hunjio just observed silently, without saying a word. Suddenly, a massive explosion occurred on the fortress. Hunjio's eyes flashed, and with just a few sword strikes, he took down a significant number of orcs. Jinwoo, watching from above, was also incredibly astonished. Is it because they're X-rank? He's on a completely different level compared to the Hunjio from the beginning of the game. He rubbed his chin and smiled. Anyway, it seems this is even easier than I thought. The soldiers were overjoyed to see the support. Allies are here. They're so strong. Will we actually survive this? Mini Kong growled and charged toward the giant orcs. The metal spirit kept healing them without stopping. Ramba dodged the axes the orcs threw while taunting them. Nya, you're mad, aren't you? Jinwoo was nearly hit and shouted in panic. Ramba, stop playing around. She was startled and turned around. Sorry about that. Hunjio lunged out of nowhere and struck it hard. How dare you throw an axe at my master? Only then did Pakryong raise her staff and chant spells in an incomprehensible language. She created a massive source of fire and controlled it to surge upward. Let's go. Fire Dragon Burst. A dragon lunged out from within the magic staff. Fire Dragon Burst unleashed dragon-shaped flames toward the front. The orcs were so burned by the fire that they screamed. Even so, there were some that managed to stay standing despite being scorched to that extent. The sound of hurried footsteps echoed. Hunjio didn't hesitate and delivered a fatal blow. The giant orc's head fell to the ground like a ball. A mechanical sound rang out. Dungeon cleared successfully. Ramba raised her hands excitedly. Absolutely fantastic. Pakryong also leveled up. EX-rank Dragon Mage level has increased to 5. EX-rank Dragon Mage intelligence stat has increased by 2. Hunjio wasn't to be outdone and leveled up along with her. EX-rank Trainer level has increased to 5. EX-rank Trainer critical rate has increased by 1%. As for Jinwoo, he received a gift from the system. Your reward has arrived. Mid-rank Summoning Scroll ×1. He couldn't hide his shock. Amazing. A mid-rank summoning scroll is worth 500,000 won. I just earned 500,000 won in 3 minutes. While the spirits were cheering happily, Jinwoo was thinking about something else. I need to find the next dungeon immediately. He clenched his fist tight. I can level up my summons and make money at the same time. It felt like a whole new horizon had opened up for Jinwoo. Time to change my life by grinding nonstop. The scene changed, standing before a large, luxurious building. Park Chang-Seok leaned his head on his hand at the desk, looking miserable. Jai-Ah stood beside him with her arms crossed and asked, exactly where did you get the confidence to place a bet like that? He replied gloomily, but that bastard started it first. The director, sitting in the middle, rubbed his hands and spoke up. Come now, everyone, please calm down. Hisu gave a sneering smirk and spoke bluntly. It seems Examiner Park Chang-Seok is wasting the budget, so I was simply offering some advice. What kind of talent management team is this that can't even produce one decent talent? The talents trained by Examiner Park Chang-Seok haven't been chosen as national representatives even once, have they? Are you acting like this because the 3rd dungeon record was recently set, just over that one thing? No matter how angry Park Chang-Seok was, he only dared to think to himself, I am Hisu, that bastard. I want to say something back, but the rankers I am Hisu trains are chosen as national representatives every year. He might be an arrogant prick, but it's true that he has actual skill. But I'm not just going to sit here and take it anymore. He thought carefully before asking, what do you plan to do if the talent I train is chosen as a national representative? I am Hisu raised his head with a condescending tone. Oh, so you want to bet on it. There are at most 10 national representative slots. Let's see whose talent climbs higher in the rank. His expression shifted as he replied, fine. He gave a sinister smile and leaned in. The loser must publicly admit the other examiner is superior and resign. The penalty for breaking the agreement is 1 billion won. Park Chang-seok didn't back down and countered immediately. Let's draw up the contract right now. The director in the middle tried to intervene in confusion. Please stop arguing. Jaya put her hands on her hips and scolded. Are you serious? You're really going to do this just because you trust that Baek Jinwoo guy? He might be impressive, but in the end, he's just a gamer. Compared to the current rankers, he still has a long way to go. He bowed his head slightly and closed his eyes. I know. Suddenly, Park Chang-seok's finger movements stopped. But I trust Baek Jinwoo. He will definitely provide us with vital information. She started to say more, even if you say that, but was cut off. Chang-seok saw something unusual and stood up from his chair. What happened? Byung-jin reported breathlessly. You told me to investigate the player who recently cleared dozens of D-rank dungeons alone. It's Baek Jinwoo. He and Jaya almost couldn't believe their ears and shouted. What? She asked him back in confusion. A player who registered less than a month ago cleared a D-rank dungeon in less than 5 minutes. Park Chang-seok let out a satisfied laugh. See, I told you so. He was so excited that he raised both hands. What did I tell you? Didn't I say Baek Jinwoo was the GOAT? That slang is a bit outdated though. Park Chang-seok was happy but still felt a bit of panic as he thought. Yes, I always believed in you. Baek Jinwoo. On Jinwoo's end, he stepped out of the dungeon entrance. Jinwoo looked around and thought, my eye for people is really spot on. Inside a small room, light from the ceiling shone down. Jinwoo looked at his account balance with excitement, his cheeks turning red from the grin. 16 million won. I actually earned 16 million won. Images from the past flashed through Jinwoo's mind. Grinding like a maniac for 4 days straight through 160 D-rank dungeons. Everyone fighting together. He looked at the pile of money and couldn't help but cry with joy. And this was the amount earned after selling all the mid-rank summoning scrolls. This really is my sweat, blood, and tears. Weren't we the ones who did the sweating? Finally, my time has come. Jinwoo sat up in bed, calculating. All right, first I need to split this money into different accounts. This is the account for living expenses, rent, utilities, food, and miscellaneous things. Jinwoo, I'll set up another family account for larger future expenses. And this is the savings account, putting away 10 million won a month for myself. He looked at his phone thoughtfully, earning 10 million a month. It feels like a dream. Jinwoo looked at the balance on his phone and finally decided to use it to top up the game. The player-exclusive account. Every cent here will be used solely for investing in my summon. Money is only one part. The most important thing right now is to increase my own value as a player. During the dungeon grinding, the kids all passed level 30, so it's time to equip and upgrade their runes. To do that, the only way is to grind daily dungeons. Jinwoo thought for a moment and said to himself, and to clear daily dungeons quickly, I need a core summon. He opened the app on his phone. I wonder if there are any good ones for sale on the market. The player web content gave Jinwoo quite a shock, leaving his mouth hanging wide open. He shouted as he looked at the price list. What? C rank and the average price is a whopping 20 million. Why is it so cutthroat expensive? Thunderbank was 20 million. B rank went all the way up to 200 million. While A rank and S rank were nowhere to be found no matter how hard he looked. At this rate, my account balance will evaporate in the blink of an eye. Jinwoo sighed, clutching his phone. Using a high-grade summoning scroll, the chance of getting a B rank is only 1%, so the price makes sense. He immediately pulled himself together and looked at the screen, but it's fine. Jinwoo navigated through the interface and opened someone's profile page. He pressed the call button and put the phone to his ear. This is exactly why I prepared a backup plan. T-seop suddenly burst through the door and shouted, Examiner. Park Chang-seok, sitting inside, asked calmly, What's the matter? Why are you in such a frantic rush? He answered anxiously, We just received a new request from the player Baek Jinwoo. Hearing that name made him jump. What? Park Chang-seok's attitude shifted as he walked over and grabbed T-seop's arm. What did he request? Tell me quickly. You gave me a heart attack. Why are you so worked up? He said if we agree, he will provide new information. T-seop held the phone up in front of Park Chang-seok. Here, this is the content. A shopping list for summons. After looking at it, his eyes nearly popped out. Buy all of these. The young man could only explain. He wants us to put up the money to purchase this entire list. Park Chang-seok furrowed his brow in worry. If headquarters were willing to spend money on all of this, I wouldn't have bothered using a C-rank summon. Did he say what we'd get in return if we buy? T-seop's next sentence eased his worry. He promised to share the secret to conquering all the daily instances in the shortest time possible. Park Chang-seok looked up at him, not just the second or fourth instance, but all the instances of the entire week. T-seop quickly replied, "Yes, exactly, sir." He put his hands on his hips and pondered. He means he'll reveal everything, not just one. That is quite a high-stakes deal. Park Chang-seok beamed, showing all his teeth. All right, I've got a handle on the situation. Let me try to discuss this directly with the director. A moment later, he slammed his hand on the table in frustration. Infuriating. Those old-fashioned fossils are a bunch of senile fools. Park Chang-seok stood up on the table in a rage. No wonder our country is always at the bottom of the rankings. Byung-jin asked in confusion, "What's wrong with him?" Jaya understood well enough and remained unfazed by the scene, knowing the request wasn't approved, which was actually quite an outrageous demand. She crossed her arms and sighed as she watched him scream to vent his anger. If only every examiner was as passionate as he is. He approached and asked, "So what did the director say to you?" Park Chang-seok, face red with anger, replied, "He said I have to provide evidence or have him demonstrate it first before we even talk about spending money. Without supporting summons, how could he possibly clear the instances?" Byung-jin said, "If that information is true, wouldn't it be a huge breakthrough?" Chang-seok yelled back, "It's an absolute gold mine, yet those idiots at headquarters can't see its value." On this side, Jaya suddenly spoke up to calm him down, sounding truly disappointed. "Selling such profitable information to headquarters for only 1.3 billion, don't you think that price is far too cheap?" Park Chang-seok asked back hesitantly in confusion. Only 1.3 billion. Jaya put a hand to her chin and called out slowly, "Examiner." She smiled and made a proposal. "How about I pay for this deal out of my own pocket?" Park Chang-seok stared at her in shock. Then it hit him. Jaya was a member of the Deseong Group family. Yu Jaya, the fourth granddaughter of Deseong, the leading economic conglomerate in South Korea. She was raised according to the standards of a chaebol lady. However, Jaya was more interested in players than in managing the company. And the player who had caught her eye the most lately was none other than Baek Jinwoo, a rookie who held an unimaginable amount of information and was even bold enough to bargain with the government. "That's it, why don't we set up a private management team just to serve him exclusively? We will invest heavily so he can exploit all the information and then we'll share the profits. Our approach will be completely different from the current talent management team." He asked once more, "Are you sure? That's a massive amount of money." Jaya didn't seem worried at all, her tone refreshing. "Are you worried about my bank balance?" Park Chang-seok laughed off the response. "Not at all." Jaya crossed her arms, tapping her fingers lightly. "You don't need to concern yourself with the money, but before we decide." She smiled and stated her requirement. "I need to meet Baek Jinwoo one more time." Jai-ah sat with her hand propped on the table, legs crossed as if waiting for someone. Hearing a sound, she glanced over. The shop staff bowed respectfully. "Please make yourself at home." Jinwoo walked in and glanced back at him. He felt a bit nervous, rubbing his neck and thinking, the main headquarters really shows its sincerity, doesn't it? "I'm responding to what you requested last time. Shall we meet in person to discuss the details? I'll send you the address and time." Who would have thought they would act so quickly over a piece of information? 1.3 billion is not easy money. Right now, I'm sitting in a high-end restaurant that makes five-star hotels look ordinary. Being treated so well, I don't even know how to handle it. Selling information is certainly worth it. A voice rang out, interrupting Jinwoo's train of thought. "You've arrived." Jinwoo glanced toward the voice and saw her standing up. "Yu Jaya, I almost fainted when I checked her background. Appearance, family, ability. The genius of the century among South Korean players, recruited with a sky-high score. I didn't expect the third-generation granddaughter of a chaebol to be working for the main headquarters." Jaya stepped forward, hand on her chest, greeting him politely. "Thank you for coming." He noticed she was alone and asked, "Are you here by yourself?" Jaya gave a radiant smile and replied, "Yes. What I want to discuss with you today doesn't involve headquarters, it's a private matter." The two sat at the table and began to converse. "So it's quite unfortunate that." She put a hand to her cheek as she spoke to Jinwoo. "I'm afraid headquarters will find it difficult to provide further support." Examiner Park Chang-seok tried his best, but there are too many objectors. "Who are you trying to fool?" He spoke as he picked up some food. "If that's how headquarters is, then our hands are tied. Regardless, I'll claim the #1 spot myself. I won't provide them with any more information." Suddenly, Jaya added something that made Jinwoo pause. "Instead, I have a proposal." He stopped moving and looked up at her. Excuse me. Jaya set her glass down in front of Jinwoo. This is just for you, Jinwoo. I'm planning to establish a private management company. He was a bit surprised by her words. A one-man management company. This proposal wasn't bad. Unlike headquarters, which has to operate cautiously, a private organization only pursues profit, and I can definitely bring in that profit. But more importantly, what I need right now is a connection with someone who values my information the most and has the resources I can leverage. Jaya spoke again, interrupting those thoughts. I, along with the professionalism of Seong, am ready to support you in everything Baek Jinwoo needs. Jinwoo couldn't help but feel excited and reflected. Where else could I find a better place than Seong? Ultimately, money never lies. He happily drank from his glass before speaking. We've only met a few times, but you seem like a wonderful person. Jaya also laughed brightly, praising Jinwoo. With talent like yours, that's a given. So I'll explain the details along with the contract. If you agree, I'll visit that vacant plot of land tomorrow. By the way, you should check the summon request you asked for. He was a bit shocked that everything seemed so rushed. So soon. I haven't even signed the contract yet. She suddenly lowered her head, her voice dropping slightly. Well, I've prepared everything in advance. Regardless of your decision, consider it a gift. Jinwoo's eyes sparkled as he looked at Jaya. That's insane. Chaebols really do things in style. The scene changed to the side of a mountain. Ajin complained as she walked. Oppa, is he coming here again today? She looked very dejected. He's been so busy lately he hasn't even called. I heard he even got his own place. Suddenly someone walked past, making her look up. She looked at Jaya and couldn't help but praise her inwardly. She's so beautiful, isn't she? Wait a minute, her face looks like someone I've seen on Insta. Ajin put her hand to her chin, searching through her memories. She immediately remembered the post she had seen. Ajin was so excited her mouth hung open. Isn't that girl you, Jaya? Under the blinding sun, the sound of heavy panting echoed. Hunjio shouted with burning spirit. More, you have to push yourself to the limit to grow. Ramba, sweating buckets and looking haggard, replied, I've already hit the limit. He seemed to notice something as he glanced around. Hunjio took off his glasses and whispered to them both, Quiet, everyone. Someone is coming. No talk. Ramba quickly lay flat on top of Jinwoo's head. Resting for a moment, he turned around and saw Jai-Ah approaching. You're here. She kept using her hand to fan herself. Yes, hello. It looks like you've been training since morning. Ramba quickly regained her energy and flew up. That's right, just some light practice. With your summons, so this is how you've built your lineup. There are some summons I've never seen before. Jinwoo waved his hand to signal them to leave. Yes, this is my main force. Go back to training. I'll introduce you officially later. Jaya reached out and took something out. All right, first of all, I have a gift for you. A system panel suddenly appeared before him, with large words written on. Player Yu Jaya is proposing a trade. Please carefully review the opponent's offer. Just like in the game Battle of Summoners, it supports trading between players, quick summon sales, and discounts for bulk purchases. If you dare to cheat and run away, you could die from a curse issued by the system window. An offer appeared that made Jinwoo reflect. Yu Jaya's trade list. Did she really get all of them? Do you accept the trade with player Yu Jai-Ah? His body was suddenly enveloped in a faint blue light. Trade completed. Jinwoo was deeply grateful and bowed repeatedly. Thank you so much. That is an incredibly valuable gift. Jaya laughed brightly, arms crossed. It was nothing. She opened her bag and felt around inside. So, she held the paper up in front of him and asked, Shall we begin the work? She quickly explained it to him. The management company's name is Baek. I took it from our surnames. 70% of the shares belong to Baek Jinwoo, 25% to me, and 5% will be given to Examiner Park Changseok. The examiner will remain at headquarters and continue to support us. We also plan to hire Byung-jin and Tseop as staff, but aren't those two at headquarters? She explained they submitted their resignations this morning because I offered them triple their previous salary. Jinwoo held the paper in his hand and hesitated slightly. I'm truly grateful, but 70% for me. Are you absolutely sure? Jaya spoke to him calmly. Consider it my way of placing a bet. Even if I only have 25%, I believe I can maximize the value of that number. Her gaze immediately turned sharp. Besides, since this is a one-man company, voting rights don't matter. What matters is the relationship between myself and Baek Jinwoo. She glanced at him as he was about to give his thumbprint and thought, now is the time to set aside greed and strengthen our bond. Jinwoo pulled out a stamp pad, inked his finger, and pressed it onto the paper. Jaya was absolutely delighted to see this. With the contract finalized, the two shook hands happily. Well then, I look forward to a successful partnership with CEO Jinwoo. Me too. On Hunjio's side, he accidentally spotted something. Having seen it, he stared intently at one particular spot. Then with a sudden dash, Hunjio lunged into the brush, leaving Jai-Ah confused. What was that? A loud scream echoed from within the bushes. He dragged 2 feet along, pulling them out. Hunjio held Ajin upside down and shook her back and forth repeatedly. Jinwoo saw her there and greeted her. Ajin, what are you doing here? Jinwoo frowned slightly and questioned her. What do you mean by this? Ajin, looking disheveled, didn't answer and shifted her eyes to avoid his gaze. He guessed it immediately and said, Did you follow Jaya here because you're a fan? She immediately barked back in denial. What do you mean follow? I was just curious so I came along. Jaya has already left. Jinwoo's reproachful tone struck Ajin's heart. Then you were clearly stalking her. He sighed softly and leaned down to ask further. And when you got here, you were sneakily watching us. She wouldn't back down and shouted angrily. Fine, I was wrong. Ajin angrily lunged forward to interrogate him. But what about you? How on earth do you know her? Her eyes were wide as she repeatedly pressed him. Did you use some kind of trick? How could you two be together? Jinwoo rolled his eyes, thinking to himself in exasperation. This is such a headache. He reflected on it for a moment. The contract had a clause about family, so they were bound to meet eventually. At that time, Jaya had promised, I intended to greet your family anyway, so this is convenient. Ajin, hearing this, muttered in a daze. You Jaya, wants to meet me. Seeing this, Jinwoo silently added, but not right this sec. A second later, she suddenly lay down on the ground, throwing a tantrum. Tell me everything right now. She was being so clingy, he couldn't stand it anymore, and let out a long breath. Jinwoo pondered for a moment before beginning. The story goes like this. After listening, Ajin reached a conclusion. So in short, you used to be a fairly famous gamer, and you're the one who just broke the record in the low-level dungeon. She stated her conclusion skeptically. So that's how you met Jaya when frequenting headquarters. Ah, Jinwoo nodded dully in agreement. That's exactly it. Ajin fell into deep thought after hearing that. Her next question immediately made Jinwoo startle. I remember you used to play some mobile game for a long time back then. Was it that one? He hurriedly denied it. No, it wasn't. That was something else. I only played Battle of Summoners for about a year. In his heart, he couldn't help but tell himself, I still can't reveal that I'm Jinwoo God. She exclaimed with great interest. Even if you only played for a year, for a garbage game like that, that's still a very long time. Every single word felt like a needle pricking Jinwoo's heart. Nevertheless, facing Ajin's teasing, he could only laugh helplessly. Who would have thought your gaming addiction would be useful at a time like this? Looking at the naive face before him, a thought rose in Jinwoo's mind. It's not that I don't trust you. That thought quietly took root in his head. But anything can happen, there are risks. The painful memories of that year suddenly flooded back, hardening Jinwoo's resolve. These loved ones have taken care of me for 3 years. I can't let them fall into danger. His gaze gradually became determined. I need to become even stronger to protect my family before I consider going public with my identity. Just then she muttered under her breath, but why are you only telling me now? Jinwoo scratched his head and replied noncommittally, I was going to tell you anyway. Besides, there's nothing to hide. I'll explain it to Mom and Dad later, so remember to keep this quiet for a while. Ajin questioned him with a hint of resentment. What? You have your own reasons. Fine, I get it. Hunjio shot a cold glance at the dark elf, while Pakryong was currently sitting on top of Ramba. While he was pouncing on it, Jinwoo suddenly spoke up. Oh, one more thing about that dark elf over there. She jumped in surprise upon hearing him, wondering why she was making such a face. His voice suddenly dropped an octave. If you plan on raising it, you should get a dark wolf to go with it. Without one, you won't even be able to tap into 10% of its power. Ajin tapped away on her device while repeating the question, Dark Wolf, does that kind of summon actually exist? Jinwoo clicked his tongue and added, it's only natural you wouldn't know, it's B rank. Hearing that, she felt a bit helpless and wondered, how am I supposed to get a B rank right now? With that, Ajin lowered her head and began tapping her screen to search. After a while, she suddenly cried out dejectedly, Brother. Hearing her voice, he asked suspiciously, what is it? With a stiff face, Ajin interrogated him. You want me to buy this? 500 million. I'd probably have to starve and go without clothes for 20 years just to afford it. Looking at the price list for the gray wolf, Jinwoo laughed and reassured her. Just stay calm. Without hesitation, he gave his word. I'll get it for you within a month. But the only response was her skeptical laughter. It costs a full 500 million. Ajin gave a faint, half-believing smile and teased. Since becoming a gamer, have you started learning how to show off? Never mind, I'll save up the money and buy it myself later. Beneath the clear sunlight, a gentle smile played on Jinwoo's lip. Then he offered a kind reminder. Don't you go crying with emotion when you actually receive the gift. Having finished his piece, Jinwoo turned to leave. I'm done training, let's head back. He left her staring after him, feeling that something was definitely off. Ajin held the dark elf, who was in a state of total exhaustion and sheer terror, and thought with a frown, "It feels like my brother has turned into a completely different person." The sky was deep blue and the sun shone brilliantly. A week later, the two of them, Jaya and him, stood watching everyone unload goods. Jinwoo spoke up with a hint of suspicion. "What is this?" She introduced it with a radiant smile. "This is the gear you'll have to wear for every daily dungeon run." Jaya continued her overview with a cheerful laugh. "The first product of our Ubik company is information." He asked back while putting on the gear. "Information." She couldn't help but brag. "We're going to sell dungeon-clearing video clips at exorbitant prices." With that, Jaya looked at the equipment and said, "And this modern set of gear is essential for doing that." A tiny camera was attached to the chest pocket. When worn, the entire surrounding environment would be recorded in 3D. She added with a soft laugh, "It's very light and has good stretch, so you won't feel uncomfortable." In the next second, Tisiop put on his glasses and slid his fingers into the gloves, his movements eerily calm. In an instant, a complete crew appeared, finishing the recording preparations. Jinwoo stared wide-eyed, thinking to himself, "This stuff makes me feel more pressured than actually fighting monsters." He nodded with a confused look and inquired, "Since this is my first time in the second dungeon, I'm not sure if things will go well. Will it be okay?" Jaya gave a gentle, reassuring smile. "It's fine, we're only going to edit and use the best highlights anyway." Receiving her answer, he paused and replied softly, "Thank you." Before stepping through the gate, Jinwoo suddenly turned back and said, "By the way, would it be okay if I broke the national record as soon as I entered?" Hearing the question, she blurted out in shock, "Well, I mean sure." Inwardly, she couldn't help but wonder, didn't you just say you were afraid it wouldn't go smoothly? Surely he's just joking, right? Or maybe that 1.3 billion one is too much pressure. Even so, Jaya hurried to comfort him. "Just relax, I don't mind. Just play as comfortably as you did when you were a gamer." He gave a slight smile and quickly agreed, "Yes, I understand." Having said that, Jinwoo decisively stepped into the teleportation portal. Thoughts raced through his mind. The national record for the second dungeon is 7 minutes. With this situation, beyond the door, a dark space awaited. Jinwoo wore a confident smile, silently calculating in his head, "I might just break it as easily as playing a game." This was the second dungeon, the only place that dropped various types of attack power-boosting runes. The completion time would directly determine the player's rank, just like in most other games. Attack runes have always been the most important thing in BOS. Because without them, you're practically useless. It really lives up to its reputation as a trash game. This is a defense-style dungeon. Normally, you have to hold out against the Undead Legion for 30 minutes. However, the clear time still holds immense importance. They call it defense just to make it sound fancy. In reality, everything ends the moment the boss lick is defeated. Therefore, charging straight ahead to take down the boss has become the most popular strategy. Jinwoo lightly touched the camera on his chest and noted, "The gear seems to be working quite well." As soon as he finished speaking, a virtual screen appeared before him. The information on the screen displayed, "You have established a total of 3 teams. Which team would you like to summon? Team A/Team B/Team C. Each player can create up to 3 different lineups." Jinwoo made his choice without hesitation. "I've already divided my teams for regular maps, PvP, and daily dungeons." Seconds later, a series of system screens appeared with summoning notifications. Summon level S Trainer, Summon level C Combat Sheriff, Summon level D Mini Comp. To his right, 2 more appeared. Summon level C Light Priest, Summon level D Golden Fairy. Once the full party had appeared, the system screen popped up again. "Lick's undead army is swarming in. Hold out until reinforcements appear." A pale blue notification box appeared, clearly displaying the text. "Time remaining, 30 minutes. The time officially entered the countdown phase, 29 minutes 59 seconds. On the other side, the Lick was waving its arms, ordering the undead army to charge. Faced with the heavy assault, Mini Kong beat its chest and roared. It grabbed a skull, the strength in its hands enough to crush it in an instant. Mini Kong slammed its full weight into the ground. Looking at the bones on the ground, he spoke enthusiastically, "Here we go." Jinwoo swung his arm and gave the confident command, "Let's move out." Everyone acted in unison. In the air, the dark-looking Lick was observing everything. In the distance, the undead army was charging frantically. "First, let's take this high ground." While Jinwoo was speaking, Hunjio's eyes noticed the hidden camera. He didn't say a word, only giving a slight nod in agreement. Seeing this, Jinwoo could only click his tongue and assess. This Hunjio kid is really sharp. As soon as he saw we were recording, he went quiet. At this moment, the system screen displayed, "Time remaining, 27 minutes 59 seconds. He glanced at it and pondered the calculation. It took exactly 2 minutes to get here. Jinwoo's gaze froze when he saw the Jedians being cornered from all sides by monsters. with more monsters chasing behind them. Hunjio didn't hesitate and lunged forward, swinging his sword to cut down the monster. On the other side, Mini Kong was also using its strength to rip heads off. It roared fiercely, swinging its arm back, preparing to throw. Mini Kong hurled the skull with great force at the incoming monster. Witnessing that scene, he couldn't help but shiver. Mini Kong and Hunjio are both doing great. I'm so lucky they're my summon. Jinwoo quickly pushed the thought aside and observed the lick in the distance. Next, he stood still and gave the order with a slight smile. Sheriff, get ready. He couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. This sheriff summon shoots from a distance and is incredibly accurate. But because the damage was so pathetic, no one wanted to use it before. But thinking of the next scene, Jinwoo happily calculated. However, he's the boss of the low-level second dungeon because the lick there doesn't have much help. In the next second, he suddenly raised a hand to stop the sheriff, who looked puzzled. Wait, don't fire yet. Jinwoo turned back and ordered, Radiance, bestow your blessing. A surge of power suddenly enveloped the gun in its hand. He nodded slightly, thinking to himself, the effect of this blessing is very simple. On the opposite side, an information screen appeared above the lick's head. Shadow protection. Jinwoo calculated confidently. It will nullify the lick's ranged attack immunity skill. Seeing everything under control, he slightly curled his lip and spoke. Good now, on my command. The sheriff immediately raised his gun and began to open fire. At the same time, Hunjio was frantically slaughtering the undead army. Seeing a monster about to sneak attack, Mini Kong leaped forward. It slammed down with terrifying force, causing the monster to shatter. In just an instant, the monsters had completely surrounded them, their cold spears ready to strike. Mini Kong froze, its motion stopping midair. Meanwhile, on the other side, Radiance and the Golden Fairy were still continuously praying. The two of them kept bestowing blessings, increasing the sheriff's power. It didn't fail their expectations, firing continuously with an expressionless face. Hearing the sound of the gunshots, Jinwoo's face momentarily paled in helplessness, just as I thought. No matter how you looked at it, its damage seemed pathetic compared to the other. Still looking at that serious demeanor, Jinwoo couldn't help but think. But anyway, the opponent's health is gradually dropping. The bullets kept flying, but the damage was like a casual stroll. It kept shooting and shooting until finally, it became an annoyance. Looking at the fuming lick, he couldn't help but admire it. Normally, with such a low level and weak runes, it would take forever to finish this. That's why everyone usually just skips it. Mini Kong was constantly recovering HP. Seeing this, he paused for a moment and thought, but in a split second, a monster suddenly jumped up, startling the two of them. Taking that opportunity, the rest quickly rushed in to ambush Mini Kong. The monster shrieked, its bizarre laughter seeming to tear through the air. Its gaze locked onto Jinwoo, who was wearing an unpredictable smile. While he was lost in thought, a figure suddenly lunged forward. That only applies to ordinary players. Without a sound of warning, a blade slashed through the monster's head from behind. Jinwoo glanced at Hunjio, who was coldly approaching him, and thought, as for me, I have Hunjio in my hands. He stood there letting him handle the monsters, his mind constantly calculating. Just use Hunjio's move to awaken its latent power, then equip the rune set with the perfect skills. And even a high-level lick will be finished with just one bullet. In an instant, the lick suddenly froze. Then, to the horror of the undead army, it abruptly fell backward. In just a split second, the system notification screen popped up. Dungeon cleared. Completion time, 4 minutes 12 seconds. You have set a new record in South Korea. You have achieved a special accomplishment. He couldn't help but brag. This spoon assassin strategy is brilliant. On the outside, Tseop exclaimed in disbelief. I didn't expect him to actually start his record-breaking journey in the second dungeon. Jaya spoke thoughtfully, wondering, is it too early to be doing this? She lowered her voice and muttered, it's only been a week since I gave him those summons. Well, even if he doesn't break the record, we still have to cheer for him. Hearing this, Byungjin just lowered his head slightly and sighed, I suppose so. Then he suddenly asked out of curiosity, but will Baek Jinwoo actually be able to break every daily dungeon record? Seeing that confused face, Byungjin hurried to explain, that's not what I meant. Breaking the third day's record was amazing, no doubt about it, but he hasn't even explained how he's going to get through the other dungeons. He looked toward the revenue board and continued, South Korea isn't lacking in players with a year of experience. What if he's just talking big? Jaya coldly interrupted him. Are you worried? That icy tone immediately silenced Byungjin. She ignored it and continued with a slight smile. Regardless, I'm investing in this with my own money. Her next words immediately left the two of them wide-eyed with shock. Even if what you fear happens, I guarantee the careers of you two. Those who have trusted me will not be affected. Of course, your salaries will remain the same. In their eyes, Jaya now looked like an angel with wings. The two of them hugged each other emotionally and wept. This really is a dream job. I'll definitely give my all to this place. She shook her head with a helpless laugh and thought, because I can afford to do that. For a brief moment, Jai-Ah's eyes became sharp. Thinking of him, she couldn't help but silently observe. And as for Baek Jinwoo, he's definitely still hiding many tricks. The more Jai-Ah thought about it, the more certain she felt about his relaxed demeanor. A suspicious thought suddenly occurred to her. It's as if these dungeons mean nothing to him. Right then, a shout of pure astonishment rang out. The record was just broken. It was followed by frantic cries. Which record? The second dungeon for beginners, only 4 minutes 12 seconds. In front of the screen, everyone couldn't help but wonder. He shortened the old record by a full 3 minutes. What kind of monster did this? Seeing that familiar face, the person gasped in shock. It's Baek Jinwoo, who else? Tae-seop also couldn't help but blurt out, "This is insane." Byung-jin stared wide-eyed, shocked beyond imagination. The two of them began to chatter excitedly. I can't believe this actually happened. He's really incredible. Meanwhile, Jaya stood behind them, lost in thought. He broke the record on his very first try. A surge of excitement made her hands tremble. She already had the answer, so the plan really did succeed. She clenched her fists, her determination burning bright. She couldn't help but let out a triumphant smile at this business venture. At the very least, it's going to be a glorious victory. In Jaya's eyes, a fierce flame of resolve erupted. And if things go smoothly, we're definitely going to hit the jackpot. The battle concluded, the sun quietly rising over the horizon, and the teleportation portal had also appeared. Jinwoo stood there with his hands on his hips, his eyes full of confidence. He turned off the camera and told himself, I still have some things to take care of before I exit the game. Looking at the virtual screen in front of him, Jinwoo calculated with a smile. From this moment on, it will be a journey of non-stop grinding. At this point, an option appeared on the screen. Would you like to auto-battle with this lineup? In BOS, you only need to clear a daily dungeon once to enable the auto-grind feature. This meant that as long as his summons kept repeating the process, rewards would automatically fill his pocket. Thinking this, he didn't hesitate to agree. A second later, Hunjio vanished before his eyes. Replaced by Ramba, the X-rank wind spirit summon. Jinwoo gave the order with a slight smile. Ramba, I'm leaving the grinding of the second dungeon to you. She voiced her doubts skeptically. Isn't it usually Hunjio? He smiled radiantly and asked back, leaving Ramba stunned. Hunjio still has to train the others. What's the matter? Do you want to join the training session too? Old memories suddenly flooded back into her mind, like a slow-motion film. She fell to her knees, groaning in despair. I'd rather go grinding. Master, please let me go grinding. Seeing her like that, Jinwoo stammered. All right then. Once the assignments were done, he calculated the next step. Great, now I just have to clear the remaining dungeons. Then he would harvest the spoils from the auto-grind. Jinwoo reflected while operating the interface. While the rest of the summons handle the training, it's an absolutely perfect operational process. Before stepping through the teleportation gate, he didn't forget to instruct. I'm counting on you, Ramba. Ramba, lying on Minnie Kong's head, guaranteed enthusiastically. Roger, leave it to me. On the other side, the teleportation gate opened. Within the glow of the portal, Jinwoo gradually emerged. As soon as he stepped out, he froze in suspicion. He was met with the sight of Tae-seop rolling out a carpet respectfully. Welcome back. This was accompanied by the admiring faces of Jai-Ah and Byung-jin. I always believed in you. Jinwoo handed over his equipment with some confusion. Ah, yes, all the recorded videos are in here. He asked hesitantly, is there anything else you need help with? She smiled gently and nodded quickly. Most definite. Jaya gave a professional assurance. We will maintain absolute confidentiality. Don't worry about any news leaking out. But Jinwoo responded with an indifferent attitude. I don't really care much if the new record gets out. This caused her to ask back skeptically, what did you say? He coolly stated his request. Instead, just make sure you protect my family well. Internally, he couldn't help but worry. Gangs are still rampant across South Korea, but since Yu Jaya is managing my rights, they'll likely tighten security. Jaya remained silent, looking down as if calculating something. Finally, she gave a slight nod of agreement. Very well, I will protect them, even if I have to use the full influence of Daeseong. Meanwhile, in a certain dark room, Komodo opened its mouth wide, ready to swallow its prey. While it was eating heartily, a notification appeared above Jinwoo's head. Dungeon complete. Time, 3 minutes 10 seconds. He smirked triumphantly. Since I'm recording, I used Komodo to clear it, but at this rate, I might even set a new world record. Looking at Komodo lying satisfied over there, Jinwoo calculated silently. If I just equip this Komodo with movement speed runes and maximize the speed buff of the Wind Hawk, breaking the record will be simple. If I use Hunjio to awaken its potential, it might only take a minute. With that thought, he pressed the button to stop the recording. After handling everything, Jinwoo immediately turned and stepped into the teleportation gate. That's it for the third day's recording. The fourth dungeon. The fourth dungeon is the place to farm defensive runes. It has a very specific characteristic, and that is, he hugged himself shivering and screamed internally. It's so cold here that I'm shaking, which makes my movement speed drop miserably. Jinwoo complained while reaching out to make his selections. It's freezing to death. As two creatures appeared, the system screen displayed, summoning C-rank Ice Cat, summoning B-rank Wind Hawk. A second later, a string of other notifications followed, summoning B-rank Titan Golem, summoning C-rank Horned Fairy, summoning X-rank Dragon Mate. The Ice Cat appeared and quickly dispelled the biting cold. He couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. In this place, you must have summons with cold-resistant skills, and among them, the Ice Cat is the #1 choice. Jinwoo looked into the distance. Let's see. On the other side was a group of monsters, charging frantically. He spoke calmly without fear. Titan Golem. Receiving the order, the Titan Golem excitedly waved its arms, amplifying the Golem's protective armor. Without stopping, Jinwoo immediately called the Wind Hawk, calculating silently. Use the Wind Hawk's acceleration skill so we can glide through quick. The Wind Hawk flew gently and landed on his shoulder. The Titan Golem then extended its hand for the three of them to step on. Once the group was settled, it accelerated and dashed away. Strong wind whipped against his face, making him turn pale. Jinwoo quickly covered his mouth in misery. The acceleration is really strong, but I'm so dizzy. The one who perseveres to the end is the winner. Meanwhile, the monsters launched an attack first, a barrage of ice orbs. The Titan Golem dodged flexibly. He smirked triumphantly, thinking, indeed, the Titan Golem is perfect as a sandbag for tanking hits. Even so, another thought struck him. However, that's not all. It watched for a moment and then leaped up. Watching the Titan Golem easily scale a high cliff, he couldn't help but marvel. By taking shortcuts that only a golem can take, I've saved a ton of time. Then Jinwoo suddenly turned and signaled Pakryong, get ready to fight. Pakryong didn't answer, but only looked up. The golem's hand gripping the cliff suddenly tightened. The Titan Golem launched itself powerfully into the air. Following that, a red warning screen flashed. Boss. Warning, warning, the boss has appeared. The monster growled fiercely as soon as it saw them. Seeing the tense situation, he quickly called the Horned Fairy. The Horned Fairy quickly flew above its head and cast a spell. Jinwoo watched and gave the order, Pakryong, strike now. Instantly, a blazing fire was summoned, and a fire dragon rushed in, closing the distance to the boss in a heartbeat. As the roar ended, the monster was engulfed in a sea of flame. The system screen quickly popped up, boss defeated, dungeon cleared successfully. Clear time, 4 minutes 22 seconds. He couldn't help but shout with joy, awesome. After the battle, the group took a temporary rest. Jinwoo hummed happily. Another new record has been set. He suddenly froze, his face turning pale before the horrified eyes of the group. Jinwoo collapsed and cried out, motion sickness. No, golem sickness. Not long after, information about the protagonist who set the new record spread through all the newspapers. From that moment on, everyone looked skeptical while reading the articles. Beak Jinwoo. A girl wondered doubtfully, isn't this the person who cleared the third dungeon before? Now the newspapers mentioned only one question. Who is Beak Jinwoo? In a cafe, constant chatter broke out. Who is this Beak Jinwoo? Don't you really remember? It's the guy on the forum who claimed he would break Kang Jin-ho's record. Oh, now I remember. Elsewhere, similar questions were being asked. So he just set another new record. That's right, he actually surpassed Kang Jin-ho. Glancing at the screen, he uttered a skeptical remark. He doesn't look like a ranked expert at all. New articles were being published continuously. Daily dungeon record shattered by Beak Jinwoo, a skyrocketing new player. The record wall of the third dungeon officially collapses before the name Beak Jinwoo. It's Beak Jinwoo again, clearing the fourth dungeon in record time. Whispers also emerged. Unbelievable. This is unprecedented. All eyes were now on the name Beak Jinwoo. The director muttered with a bit of a headache. If it's Beak Jinwoo, the secretary beside him quickly added, then it's the person examiner Park Changseok mentioned before. He added briskly, the one who said he'd provide information if we gave him summons. He raised an eyebrow and inquired, is it the person examiner I am? Hisu vehemently opposed. The secretary confirmed immediately, yes, that's him. At that time, we refused to pay without getting the information first. The director leaned back wearily, but it seems what he said was true. He affirmed decisively, most certainly, sir. He didn't reply, but only let out a pensive sigh. Remembering the scene from then, the director thought regretfully to himself. Looking back, I am Hisu's words seemed logical at the time. Nevertheless, he still tried to console himself. However, in the world of politics, results are everything. But the more he thought, the more regret the director felt. If I had supported Baek Jinwoo then, I wouldn't just be cheered by the public, I would have gathered a mountain of votes. He shook his head in deep sorrow, silently blaming. That old man I am Hisu is truly senile. His judgment of people is so poor. I can't believe he personally threw away such a stroke of luck. Then the director spoke up. First of all, where is the secretary? He replied while handling work. I'm here, director. He quickly made a decision. Try to find a way to contact Baek Jinwoo again. The secretary asked for clarification in confusion. Sir, are we going to contact him directly? A look of determination appeared in the director's eyes. That's right. I thought it was a scam at first, but it turned out to be the real deal. We must pull him to our side at all costs. Dungeons 2 and 4 are where you earn runes, while clearing the third dungeon will yield enhancement stones. He strode confidently through the teleportation gate. A desolate desert scene unfolded right before his eye. The fifth dungeon gives skill books. These books don't help you learn the special moves of summon, and they definitely don't have the hidden skills that only a trainer can unlock. But they still drop many decent moves, so it's worth grinding here. Thanks to this, I can skip the Sunday dungeon. Both the Sunday and Thursday dungeons drop the same skill book, but you get more if you go to the fifth one. Since there's no need to constantly grind these places, I decided to give the whole team a rest on Sunday. So what exactly is that easy fifth dungeon? Amidst the ruins of the earth, the system signaled, warning, warning, warning. A bright red screen displayed. The boss monster is appearing. Looking at the monster before him, he couldn't help but think, it's a place where you have to jump in and fight the boss to the death immediately. Jinwoo groaned in annoyance. The defense stat of the boss here is ridiculously high. The common basic strategy is to use a B-rank White Wolf to activate a defense down skill. However, if you're strong enough to crush it with sheer damage, then that's fine too. He didn't follow the beaten path and quickly summoned everyone. A giant hand struck the ground, followed by a heavy stomp. Looking at the majestic Titan Golem, Jinwoo's confidence immediately surged. He reached out and turned off the camera. This video probably can't be sold. Jinwoo couldn't help but sigh. If I just send a team of monsters to punch it repeatedly like this, what can people learn from it? Thinking of that scene, Jinwoo thought helplessly. I should probably just tell them to use the White Wolf to wear down its defense, then follow up with a massive damage combo, the traditional way. Finally, he concluded, anyway, it's not like there aren't tricks to break the record. With that thought, Jinwoo climbed onto its hand and said, Titan Golem. The weakness of an Earth Golem is its head. Aim straight for that. According to Jinwoo's line of thought, the two golems met. That's why I had to call the Titan Golem. While the Wind Hawk and Ramba were full of spirit, he also waved his hand and gave the order, Pakryong, Hunjio. Jinwoo commanded directly, concentrate on finishing it off by hitting its head. In an instant, the two golems clashed in battle. But a second later, its arm was suddenly severed. Before anyone knew it, Hunjio had landed on the Earth Golem's arm. He calmly sheathed his sword while it stared in shock. Before the Earth Golem could react, it was sliced into fragments. In the air, Pakryong also raised her staff high, summoning sacred fire. She coldly prepared to deliver the finishing blow. A flame shaped like a dragon surged downward, instantly engulfing the Earth Golem in a roaring fire. In the end, only its scorched body remained. After the battle, Pakryong landed on the Titan Golem's shoulder. A series of notifications followed. Boss monster defeated. Dungeon cleared successfully. Clear time, 5 minutes 10 seconds. Jinwoo excitedly clenched his fist and shouted, I've cut a full minute off the national record. Then he looked at Hunjio below and marveled. Hunjio is truly strong enough to break the game's balance. Nevertheless, Jinwoo had to cross his name off. Even so, I don't intend to let him and the main team handle this fifth dungeon. He pondered while observing his surroundings. I just need Pakryong to be properly trained. Looking at Pakryong, who was staring at him with sparkling eyes, Jinwoo thought proudly. That's enough to clear the highest level dungeon in a heart. The more he thought, the more confident he became. In the future, it'll probably take only about 10 seconds, including the time to enter and exit the portal. Jinwoo happily patted her head and offered praise. Well done, little friends. Hunjio gave a slight nod, while Ramba waved her hand happily. Amidst the ruins of the Rocky Mountain, his relieved voice rang out. All right, let's do one more round. Sometime later, Jinwoo stepped through the teleportation gate once again. Right then, someone stepped forward to inquire. Excuse me, are you the player Baek Jinwoo? Looking at the two strange men, he replied cautiously, that's me. One of them respectfully held out a business card and introduced himself. We are from the Secretariat under the Director's office. As soon as Jinwoo saw the card, he spoke up. I see. He didn't want to linger, so he asked, is there something you need from me? Internally, he wondered, I thought the discussions with the main headquarters ended a long time ago. The secretary hurriedly explained, our side has carefully reviewed the proposal that Mr. Baek Jinwoo submitted last time. His monotonous voice continued, seeing as you've achieved impressive results, we intend to cooperate. Jinwoo immediately cut him off. Oh, that matter. He gave a slight wave of his hand and declined with a smile. Never mind that. The two of them stared back in utter shock. Excuse me. Looking at their expressions, Jinwoo let out a mocking laugh. What's all this about reviewing and reporting results now? An image of Jaya with angel wings appeared in his mind. I'll pay you 1.3 billion up front. Please trust me. Behind her was the director saying, let me review it. Just trust the main headquarters. The more Jinwoo thought about it, the angrier he became. What kind of person did they take him for? Did they think he was someone easily manipulated? They talked big, but in reality, they were the exact opposite of Yu Jia. He spoke up, startling the secretary. Furthermore, Jinwoo explained calmly, I already have a management company. If you want to discuss business, contact Ujai-Arvubik directly. Having said his piece, he left decisively. That's all. Goodbye, leaving the secretary standing there agape. What? He asked skeptically, what on earth is Ubik? The secretary voiced his confusion. He just mentioned. Don't tell me it's someone from the DCong group. He frowned and gave an order. Investigate this immediately. Inwardly, he couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. I have a feeling we just let a golden opportunity slip through our fingers. On the message screen with Baek Jinwoo, the director asked somewhat hastily, are you up yet? Probably still fast asleep. I suddenly find myself missing you. If only I'd met you sooner. I've fallen for you, Baek Jinwoo. Jinwoo coldly sent back a single like followed by a notification. Baek Jinwoo has left the group chat. The next day in the city center, Jinwoo stood comfortably enjoying the sun on a rooftop. He suddenly turned around, muttering, this should be about right. This sixth dungeon is completely different from any place I've been before. While other dungeons are for summons to fight, he thought, here, the player must personally overcome the trials to be considered successful. Jinwoo didn't hesitate and made a decision. Time to start training right away. With that thought, he quickly selected a summon. In an instant, the surrounding space transformed, and a system screen appeared, summoning B-rank Sky Wyvern. Jinwoo walked slowly to the railing and looked down. Seeing the height, he couldn't help but think, with the protection shield, I don't have to worry about falling to my death, but it's still nerve-wracking. Then Jinwoo called out, hey, Sky. Sky quickly lowered itself. As he climbed on, he asked, ready, are you prepared? On Jinwoo's command, it quickly took flight, heading straight toward the East Sea. The sudden loss of gravity made him squeeze his eyes shut in a panic. But very quickly, Jinwoo opened his eyes, looking down at the miniature city below, and let out an exclamation of surprise. This is. Jinwoo thought excitedly, this is much more interesting than I expected. He then gave a cheerful command. Excellent, let's go. A while later, at the coast of Yangyang, the moment Hunjio saw him, he exclaimed, my master. He suddenly shouted with pride, your flying skills are incredible, you truly didn't disappoint me. Jinwoo thought to himself with a bit of embarrassment, all this praise is making me feel pressured, but he quickly demurred, it's not quite that impressive. However, Hunjio flatly denied it, no, I'm being serious. At this moment, Park Ryung spoke up softly, but it's true. She recounted admiringly, at first, we struggled quite a bit just to ride the wyverns. A memory of the two main summons hardships flashed by. Jinwoo was a bit speechless. He remembered that during the Great Summoner War, Hunjio and Pakryong had also ridden dragons and sky dolphins. Pakryong didn't hesitate to pile on the praise. Indeed, Saint Jinwoo God, you are completely worthy of being our master. You're amazing. Looking at them, Jinwoo's heart felt a bit soft, they're so cute. All right, thank you everyone. He quickly turned his face away. Anyway, let's move on. Observing the wide sea before him, Jinwoo asked softly, next is Sky Dolphin riding, right? She replied promptly, that's right. He spoke with a touch of humility. Learning from experienced ones like you is the fastest way to improve. I'm counting on you. Pakryong said excitedly, I'll do my best, while Hunjio clenched his fist and replied, by your command, master. A few days later at the 6th dungeon. By this time, Jinwoo had teleported to the 6th dungeon. A confident smile played on his lips. This is the place that specifically provides special rooms. While warming up, Jinwoo called out, Sky Eagle. A virtual screen displayed the text. The running trial will begin in 10 seconds. Reach the finish line as fast as possible. This is the place that helped me get the God of Speed title. As soon as the Sky Eagle appeared, it heard his command, give me a haste buff. Jinwoo lowered his center of gravity, preparing to run. Simultaneously, the countdown began. 3, 2, 1. The moment the count hit 1, Jinwoo's eyes flashed. The command was given, go, and he quickly sped off. Gun ports appeared in the air, aiming downward. He dodged the barrage of bullets as he ran. In a split second, a bullet grazed Jinwoo's arm. He quickly jumped and landed on the yellow squares. It's a thrill to experience this for myself now. It's much more fun than just watching it through a computer screen. A spark of excitement lit up Jinwoo's eyes. It's time to enter the first hidden path. Before him was a blinding light at the horizon of the wide sea. Jinwoo curled his lip, calculating, normally, you'd have to cross the water and just keep running straight. But right as he thought that, he suddenly leaped into the air. Jinwoo threw himself directly into the sea. He smiled radiantly and shouted a summon, "Sky Dolphin, come forth." A dolphin vaulted out of the sea, summoning C-rank Sky Dolphin. Clinging to it, Jinwoo quickly squeezed his eyes shut and held his breath. A second later, both of them vanished into the deep sea. Admiring the brilliant scenery under the ocean, he couldn't help but think, if I use the dolphin to move underwater, I can bypass a whole bunch of obstacles up there. Jinwoo narrowed his eyes slightly as they prepared to surf. The moment he vaulted out of the water, he shouted, "Sky Wyvern." Seeing that familiar silhouette, Jinwoo quickly climbed down. He pushed off the dolphin's body with full force. Jinwoo landed easily on Sky's back. From here on out, it's going to be an aerial performance. The two of them nimbly dodged every attack. Just zip past the remaining traps and it's over. In the blink of an eye, the finish line appeared. His eyes widened with excitement, and he shouted the end, clear. Prompted by Jinwoo's joyful shout, the system screen immediately popped up. You have reached the destination. The system joyfully congratulates you on clearing the dungeon. Time, 2 minutes 16 seconds. Next, the screen was filled with celebratory fireworks. Congratulations, you have broken South Korea's national record. You have achieved a special accomplishment. The forest blazed under a brilliant sky as the scene shifted to the 7th dungeon after the 6th was cleared. A giant monster roared amidst a sea of fire while other creatures fled in panic. An eagle dove down like a bolt of lightning. The flames engulfed the forest, and all monsters were destroyed. The dungeon was cleared in just 3 minutes 40 seconds. The scene shifted to towering cliffs under the sunset. The Sunday dungeon was also resolved incredibly fast. Jinwoo stood tall with his arm outstretched. His summons unleashed their power, and a blinding beam of light shot straight into the enemy. A white-haired figure with glowing eyes was knocked back, blood running down his face. Hunjio held a glowing blue sword, with the others standing behind him. The absolute master was defeated. The dungeon was officially cleared. Hunjio closed his eyes calmly. Ramba, sitting on his head, spoke softly, "That was tough." She smiled and replied, "It's the result of all that training." Jinwoo reached out a hand to help Pakyong up, his voice warm. Everyone did a great job. He wiped the sweat from his forehead and let out a sigh of relief as he broke the South Korean national record for clearing all low-tier dungeons. The total clear time was 14 minutes 50 seconds. Jinwoo thought to himself, if we keep training like this, the clear times will only get shorter. Let's focus on building strength first, then I'll challenge the mid-tier once I'm strong enough. He looked up at the massive tower reaching into the clouds, pondering, I need to clear up to the highest tier dungeons and gather runes and skills consistently. Only then will I have the stats to challenge the Tower of Trial. He glanced aside and smiled slightly at the others standing nearby, then said, "Is 2 years enough?" Hunjio caught Ramba with his hand. Jinwoo looked at the system board and continued, "By the way." An interface filled with items appeared. "I'll keep the high-rank summoning scrolls, but what should I do with all these clear rewards?" The scene shifted to the Ubik office. Jaya was sitting behind her desk, phone in hand. The phone screen showed breaking news. Jinwoo consistently breaking records in daily dungeons. The report asked loudly, "Who exactly is he?" and declared the whole world was going crazy for Beak Jinwoo. Jai-Ah leaned back in her chair and gave a calm smile. "Well, it's only natural. Breaking every dungeon record in just 1 week." She turned her head toward Byongjin and called out. He was sitting at the next desk and replied, "Yes, ma'am." Jaya asked, "How is the video editing coming along?" Byong-Jin scratched his head, looking a bit stressed. "I just finished it." Tseop looked up from behind his computer screen and asked, "Is there a problem?" Byongjin picked up the device and said, "It's not a problem, it's just that even though I've finished, I still find it hard to believe what I saw. Would you like to see it?" "I've finished merging the 5th and Sunday dungeons, as per Beak Jinwoo's request." All three of them looked intently at the screen with serious expression. Then someone reacted in shock. A close-up of hands gripping a dolphin underwater, and a voice rang out, "What the hell is that?" A blinding light spread across the sea, and the water rippled violently. A giant wyvern soared upward with Jinwoo sitting on its back. A terrified voice cried out, "That's impossible." Byongjin sat stunned and noted, "His strategy and execution are on a completely different level. It's almost like a circus act." Jaya asked, "Is this truly possible?" Byongjin said with a strange expression, Even a film crew couldn't stage a scene like this. He added, even if we sell it, everyone will complain because no one else can replicate. Jaya looked straight ahead, her gaze calm as she spoke. That only means Baek Jinwoo is just that outstanding. She gripped the armrest of her chair and said, before we sell the video, let's buy up every summon that appears in it. Byung-Jin was surprised. Are you thinking of monopolizing the market first? Jaya turned her head slightly and gave a confident smile. Precisely. We need to maximize the profit from this information. Byung-Jin leaned over and tapped on his tablet with a look of panic. With our current budget, we'll try to… Jaya interrupted. Don't worry about the budget. Buy them all. She gave a confident smile and ordered, if it's not enough, I'll take out a loan in my name. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. Jaya sat behind her desk with a calm smile. In a stylized scene, a figure with a dollar sign stood before Jaya's desk, shouting, Director Yu Jaya, get the branch manager here now. Two figures in suits knelt beside a pile of money, trembling. We've processed it to the absolute limit. I'd even give up my watch. The other said, just tell us what you need. Jaya smiled and closed her eyes. I've secured the loan and bought all the summons. She continued typing and declared, now it's time to sell the information. The screen was filled with dungeon strategy info, along with prices and conditions. Byung-Jin leaned toward the screen. Is it okay to sell it for such a low price? Jaya replied calmly. The strategy info is just the bait to sell the summon. Furthermore, this is for the development of South Korea. A low price is fine. Tseop turned his head and asked, then what price should we list for the summons we've collected? Jaya gave a confident smile. List the C ranks at 200 million and the B ranks at 1 billion. Tseop spun around with a shocked expression. That's 10 times the current market price. Isn't that too expensive? Her voice rang out. When the news spreads, everyone will need these summons, and the price will naturally rise. More summons appeared on the screen. Since we hold most of the supply, they'll have no choice but to buy from us. The cursor clicked the post button. A voice said, now then, it's time to harvest the fruits of trusting and investing in Baek Jinwoo. The two men lined in to look at the screen in amazement. Is this a dream? Below that, Jaya smiled. The revenue board displayed 377 billion. A blinding light erupted from the screen. The two men shielded their eyes, a voice saying, we haven't even started and it's already like this. This is insane. Jaya's hands trembled on the keyboard while the two men behind her cheered. The summons bought for Baek Jinwoo only cost 1.3 billion, and now look at this. Jaya sat with her eyes closed, taking a deep breath to calm herself, while the two men were practically pinned to the wall behind her. She sat before the screen and said, the business feasibility has been proven. The two looked at her in shock. Jaya continued, now let's begin large-scale investment. One of them hesitated. Jaya turned her head and gave a confident smile. First, shall we go buy a building? She looked at the two kneeling on the floor and asked, why are you two being so pathetic? They replied weakly, because of Baek Jinwoo. The scene shifted to Jinwoo, sitting alone on a park bench. Phone in hand, the screen displayed Baek Jinwoo's account balance, over 54 million. He gave a radiant smile, with sparkles appearing around him. Ramba clung to his shoulder in shock, earning 54 million in just 1 week from selling high-rank scrolls. Ramba asked, how many cakes can we buy with that? Jinwoo leaned back and gave a happy smile. Dungeon rewards sure are sweet. Did any X ranks come out? Ramba asked, pointing to herself. Jinwoo's face turned serious. Ramba, did you forget? He remembered the previous gacha pull, surrounded by summons and fragments, and groaned. A memory appeared, he and Ramba tearing up a series of summoning scrolls. Jinwoo leaned against the bench, tearing up 10,000 of them and still nothing. Ramba shouted, just thinking about it gives me phantom pain. Jinwoo said, besides, now isn't the time to roll for new summons. Let's focus on upgrading the ones we already have. He looked down at his phone. By the way, we should sell the junk items from the grind. Should I ask Jaya? He held up his phone, displaying Baek Ajin's contact info. Ajin was standing in a crowd thinking, come to think of it, Ajin sells runes. From now on, valuable items will pile up. Why not just give them all to Ajin? His fingers tapped quickly on the keyboard. He thought, I can share the profit with her. Besides, she helped pay for my hospital bill. Jinwoo typed and sent, hey Ajin, can we meet up? If you're free, come to the empty lot. He gave a slight smile, thinking, now is the time to repay the favor. The scene shifted to a cozy cafe. Ajin lowered her eyes, closed them, and gave a soft sigh. She raised her hands slightly, giving an awkward smile. Her friend beside her looked at her with concern. What's wrong? You don't look okay at all. Ajin replied, I'm just a bit out of it. Ajin looked at her friend with a small smile, and a voice advised, talk about it. Sharing your feelings might make you feel better. Ajin closed her eyes, her cheeks flushing slightly as she thought, the truth is, my brother is the player everyone has been talking about lately. Jinwoo stood with his back to a high-rise building, money fluttering all around him, as his voice rang out, keep it a secret for a while longer. Ajin stared blankly, muttering in amazement. She gripped the edge of the table, her face tense and dripping with sweat, as she pondered how to explain that her brother had even established an information brokering company. She clutched her hair on both sides, swaying with frustration as she thought to herself, he definitely has his reasons, but it's still so irritating. Ajin stood between two friends with a flustered expression as they looked at her worriedly and asked, "What has your brother been up to lately? Is he busy?" To which she stammered, I don't know anything. She yanked hard on her hair in a fit of rage, imaginary flames erupting behind her as she thought, hiding this from our parents is truly unbearable. There's just no way I can say. While her mind was racing with these random thoughts, her phone screen lit up with a message requesting a meeting at a vacant lot. Ajin's eyes widened as she wondered, I have no idea what he wants to talk about now. She stood up from her chair and said, I have to head out first. Her friends watched her in surprise as she turned back, clasping her hands to apologize. Sorry, my brother is calling. Her friend leaned in, surprised. The brother who just woke up from a coma, is he doing okay now? Ajin raised her hand and backed away, saying, I'll tell you the details next time. I'll pay when we hang out again. It was a vacant outdoor lot in the bright daylight, framed by a rugged cliffside. Ajin stood clutching her handbag, looking ahead and asking, what is going on here? A wildcat fired a burst of energy into a pack of red monsters, causing flames to erupt. Two figures charged forward with terrifying speed, while a wyvern circled overhead. A swarm of tiny fairies flew around a giant golem that was desperately trying to catch them. Hunjio stood with a whistle in his mouth, observing calmly. Ajin recognized him as the one who had overwhelmed her shadow elf before. Hunjio turned his head to look at her, leaving Ajin standing frozen in her tracks. He turned away and ignored her, prompting her to ask in surprise, is he here too? She turned her head and called out in shock, brother, before asking, what is all of this? Jinwoo stood shirtless with a towel draped around his neck, wiping his head. From behind, his toned, muscular physique was clearly visible. Ajin looked on with a bewildered expression, thinking to herself, was his body always like this? An image of the old, frail Jinwoo appeared, trembling as he held a phone. He used to just lie in a hospital bed on an IV, unable to lift anything heavier than a smartphone. Jinwoo gripped the towel around his neck and turned to ask, are you all right? Ajin rushed over and pointed behind him in shock, screaming, brother, what are those summons? Jinwoo remained calm and asked, what about them? As Ajin replied, their market price has skyrocketed lately. Images of the summons appeared with their values. Combat Sheriff and Priest of Radiance C rank, 200 million, Sky Wyvern, Wind Falcon, and Titanium Golem B rank, 1 billion. Ajin added tensely, they are extremely rare because there is no supply. Ajin narrowed her eyes, thinking, wait, how does he have such rare ones? Rumor has it, these summons appeared in videos sold by Yubi. Jinwoo turned his head slightly, a smirk playing on his lip. Ajin's eyes widened. Yubik, she gasped in terror, it can't be. Ajin looked at her brother in shock and asked, brother, you broke the daily dungeon records using these summons, didn't you? Jinwoo nodded. Yeah, where did you get them? Jinwoo replied, do you remember Jaya from back then? Ajin clasped her hands excitedly. Jaya, Jinwoo said, she gave them to me. Upon hearing those words, his younger sister's face completely turned to stone. Ajin's face broke into a sweat as she screamed, she gave you things this expensive. While Jinwoo stood a short distance away and said, yeah, they don't belong to the company. Ajin stood frozen and stunned as Jinwoo turned to her and said, anyway, you got here pretty fast. Ajin wiped the corner of her mouth and asked in surprise, that's right, why did you call me here? To which Jinwoo asked, are you still selling runes? A glowing blue interface appeared, filled with runes. Ajin replied, yes, I sold a few yesterday. Why do you ask? And Jinwoo smiled, well. He swung his hand toward the glowing interface, and a pile of items tumbled onto the ground. Ajin jumped back, her eyes bulging. A massive pile of dungeon rewards appeared between them. Ajin screamed, what is all of this? And Jinwoo replied, rewards I got from clearing dungeons. Want to check them out? Ajin held a rune close to her face to examine it. This is a swiftness rune, right? But the stats are a bit. Whoa, this cleave rune has a rare critical hit drop rate. It'll sell for a huge price. While Jinwoo stood with his arms crossed, smiling. Ajin narrowed her eyes as she held a blue rune. This one has crit rate tied to a defense stat, which is a bit weird, but she thought to herself, the stats aren't bad. Jinwoo thought since Bikajin sells runes every day, she had a very good eye, even remembering all the low drop rate rune effects, and could quickly judge the value of skill books and material. She even recognized my summons immediately. She practically lives in the marketplace. Ajin held a book and looked up in surprise when he called her name. Jinwoo gave a slight smile and said, I'm going to hand it all over to you. Do you want to try selling them? and Ajin replied, "You want me to sell?" She looked to the side with a blank expression, thinking, "I'm confident I can sell these well." Ajin smiled and closed her eyes as she stood before the shop. "At least I'm second to none." She had demonstrated her business acumen many times. An image appeared of a young Ajin handing a phone to Jinwoo as he turned around. "Ever since I was little, no matter the game, I always found trading more fun than hunting monsters. But if I sell these things, my rune farming days are over." Ajin leaned forward with a look of determination. "Wait, wouldn't it be better to just focus on selling?" She looked at Jinwoo with a bit of worry. "What I'm worried about is..." Jinwoo maintained a neutral expression. Ajin looked at him, feeling a bit tense. "So, what's my commission?" She cast her eyes down, thinking seriously. "I have to think about my future. Doing it for free once or twice is fine, but not forever." Jinwoo crossed his arms and smiled calmly. "How much do you want?" Ajin closed her eyes and said, "Usually, big merchants take 8 to 10%, but since it's you..." She raised her hand, spreading 5 fingers. "Can I take 5%? Jinwoo closed his eyes and chuckled softly. "What's with 5%? We're family." Ajin bowed her head, beads of sweat appearing. Jinwoo held up 2 fingers. "I'll be generous and give you 20%. Do your best to sell them." Ajin froze, her eyes wide and her mouth agape. 20%. Jinwoo stood behind her and smiled with his eyes closed. "It's the least I can do, Tilda." Ajin reached her hands forward and screamed in terror, "You're giving me that much?" Jinwoo turned his back and waved his hand as he walked away. "I'll be giving you many more high-quality runes in the future, so get ready to be busy." Ajin stood behind him, sweating. "In the future? You mean this isn't just a one-time thing, but long-term?" Ajin leaned over, her face flushed and shocked, thinking, selling all of that with a 20% commission. She clenched both hands to her chest, watching his back as he walked away. She wiped her tears with her sleeve. Rune farming isn't necessary anymore. Jinwoo approached her with a faint smile. Ajin gave a radiant smile, tears welling in her eyes. "I'm going to become a professional merchant."